Backing up an epic World 600 weekend in April, the Major Series moves to the Yard of Bricks for the Speedway 500 for the 13th year running. 33 cars and drivers, 200 laps, and 500 miles. This is one can't-miss race, and as such, many drivers making their first start of 2025 against series regulars. This clash of drivers of all types is about to begin, and it's going to be a wild one. Welcome to Pit Stop TV and the virtual Speedway, Indiana. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV with Zach Brodos alongside, and it's a pleasure to join you for coverage of the 2025 Majors Series. Today's coverage from Indianapolis is brought to you by the Majors Series, by Majors Garage, and by Whiplash SimCams. Zach, it's always fun going to Indianapolis, no matter the car, no matter the actual track Indy, but this is the ultimate combo. The Indy car on the Yard of Bricks. This is going to be a fun one. Of course, the Indianapolis Oval, four corners, four very distinct corners, unlike any oval out there.
Oh, absolutely. Indianapolis is, as they put it, the pinnacle of racing when it comes to, the Indianapolis 500, the Indy GP, the Brickyard 400. There are so many high-level races. IMSA goes here as well, uses the road course facility. There are so many amazing races that take place at Indianapolis, a storied history. This track has been around for over 100 years, and there's so much history that's gone into just how this racing has happened here. We've seen drivers like Dan Weldon, Jeff Gordon, Helio Castroneves, Scott Dixon all win here on the famous 2.5 mile it's not a super speedway, but it is a speedway nonetheless. And I, for one, I don't know about you, Andrew, I, for one, am looking forward to all of this. And one thing a lot of people don't know about Indianapolis, there's a freaking golf course inside of it. A golf course on a racetrack.
Yes, this is one epic place to go racing. Let's take a quick look at the point standings before we get down to the Lucky Performance starting grid. Nathan Dowd enters this race with the points lead, as he's had since Daytona. Dallas Pataska, however, cut into that greatly. He is now second in the standings, Robert Nash third, Christian Challoner fourth, and down in the fifth spot, how about Tom Abramidis? Challoner, Abramidis still looking for a win. LaHerbier's got one in sixth, and then everybody else down beyond is looking for their first overall or class win in top split. There's a couple of wins, like Lynn Kinchlow, I think, has a win in a different split in another event this season, so there's a couple of other wins strewn throughout, but as far as top split wins that you've seen on these Pit Stop TV broadcasts, they are all centered around those top drivers at the top of the standings. With standings out of the way, we can get down to the Lucky Performance starting grid and look through all 33 starters ready to go racing this evening. This is going to be a fun one. The iRacing.com pace car rolling off. Let's talk about the front row. Now, qualifying, by the way, was set through pre-Q as always, and then bump qualifying as well. Austin O'Neill and Nathan Dowd. Let me just hang on. Driver chat apparently found its way to be on. Anyways, Austin O'Neill, Nathan Dowd on the front row. Starting third will be Robert Nash, Matt Wagner from fourth. Starting fifth and sixth, Christian DeVate and Brian Bennett. Seventh and eighth, Brenton Foster and Sebastian Jackson. And quickly here to complete the top 10, Lionel Callisto and Christian Challoner.
Rolling through the rest of the top 10, outside actually the top 10, Ray Partridge and Austin Peterson rounding out 11th and 12th, 13th and 14th on the starting grid. You'll find directly behind them Ryan Steele and Nick Kuhn in the number 12 and the 19. They'll be making up row number 7. Jimbo Pfeiffer and Vincent LaHerbier will be 15th and 16th on the grid, and 17th and 18th you'll find Joseph Human and Wayne Hutchinson. And then rounding out your top 20, you'll find Eric Starapoli and Lynn Kincholi. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that.
Starting from 21st, Logan Edwards. 22nd, Bryce Roberts. 23rd, Richard McClure. 24th, Daniel Johnson. Starting from 25th spot, my favorite driver on the grid, Bob Beltrami. I love that name. Michael Chin starts in 26th. Then in 27th, it's William Fletcher. 28th, Ross Banfield. And in 29th and 30th, Damian Colty and Lyndon Swaby. Three more on the grid, Jason McSparron, Greg McEnany, and Andy Banfield, the very back end of this 33-car field. Quickly, the Whiplash SimCams race details. It's a 200-lap, 500-mile race, as you would expect for a Speedway or Indianapolis-style 500. Unlimited tires, 100% fuel, open setup, one fast fix, no green-white checkers, and of course, single-file restarts. We are, of course, at Indy. With all that said, let's go racing. There we go, into the Geico restart zone. These 33 drivers are lighting things up, and we are racing at Indianapolis. Down the back stretch for the very first time, Nathan Dowd in control. Robert Nash has got the lead. Nathan Dowd second, and Christian of 8 in third. He's got the inside. Abate moves to second.
Everyone just trying to get single filed out so we can start seeing where the fuel numbers will come in, because these drivers, they're flat out most of the time, Andrew. That doesn't provide a lot of opportunity for fuel saving. You can go full out all the time here in Indianapolis. They don't have a lot of downforce on these cars, but the banking and the speeds provide them with the ability to smash that throttle all the way down, keep it at full speed the entirety of the time. That's why you see speeds in excess of 230 miles an hour as we have one side-by-side battle midway through the pack, but that fizzles out really quickly. Big move down to the bottom.
Couple of big swings down to the inside out of turn number 2. Here's the onboard of Eric Staropoli. He'll pass Nick Kuhn down to turn 3 and move to the inside quickly of Ryan Steele into the third corner. That was a daring move on only lap number 2. An incident-free lap 1 is always what you want to see, but that easily could have been an incident on lap 2. I'm glad that worked out for Staropoli. He'll fall back now of Ryan Steele, and look at that train of cars down the front stretch. Everybody try to find their spot in this opening stage of the Speedway 500. Fast lap there, Nathan Dowd, he runs in second spot. He's right behind Robert Nash, and these guys, they've got their life easy right now compared to the guys in the back. They've got clean air, at least mostly. Of course, if you're in behind somebody, you might need to turn up that weight jacker or mess with the ARB, but for the most part, this is where you want to be right now.
About to be 200 laps of riding. Just sitting in the draft, hanging tough with these cars up front. And, you know, that's the one thing, too, that I've always had a concern with when it comes to IndyCar at Indianapolis Motor Speedway is track position. Staying up front, staying where you need to be, that you can still work with these guys up front and keep your fuel strategy in a good spot. That's one of the biggest things, because especially when it comes down to a single file at restart, these guys can easily get spread out very, very easily. Double file, you're closer together. You have more opportunity to make passes, whereas now you see them all single file snaking down the back straightaway. This is where the separation starts to come into play.
Beltrami in that red and green 14 with a move there on Jimbo Pfeiffer. This is the back end of the field. Guys that are jostling for position. Thankfully, it seems like we've been incident-free, no real contact or anything through the 32 cars that have made it through these first 5 laps. But you never rule anything out, right? As the race goes on, these guys are going to wear their tires out. They're going to have to work on the in-car adjustments that we'll talk about over the course of this race. And we could see mistakes very quickly. So far, this is the cream of the crop, I gotta say. I'm very impressed to get through these opening few laps with no problem and get these guys in a line. You talk about fuel saving from lap number 1, and that is what these guys have got in their minds. They're going to be playing with the engine map a little bit in traffic, trying to maybe turn that down to 2 or 3, trying to save a little bit of fuel, go past that 30-lap mark, and try and extend these runs if they can, but at the same time, they've got to be focused that they're back in the pack on moving forward.
Yeah, but that's one thing that also provides a complexity. We've got a midfield battle right here into turn number 1. Should fizzle out very, very quickly, side by side, through 1 and 2. Back single file behind, but still running side by side here off of turn number 2 down the back straightaway. But, you know, that's one of the big things that we talk about here, Andrew. And the fuel saving, the fuel maps, these guys are flat out most of the time. They don't have the opportunity to say, let off the gas, back your corner up a little bit more, because they have to stay in this draft. They have to stay with the pack. And the aero wash, too, really plays into a bit of a factor here. So they've got to keep this engine map in a good position where they can save that fuel, make it last for this entire run, and they can put themselves in better position moving forward. The more you can save to cut out a pit stop, the absolute better you'll be.
Joseph Holman and Lynn Kinchlow doing some battle here to turn 1. That's Wayne Hutchison that just took the middle lane in that orange and white and blue machine that we're focused on there. Fall back 1 spot is Lynn Kinchlow in the 44 car, and he is moving through this field. Kinchlow started back in 20th spot, has moved up now to the 16th position as he goes to the inside there of Wayne Hutchison. That is a big pass there for Lynn Kinchlow. Got a little bit of open track ahead, and you know they were 2 wide through 3 and 4 last lap. This time through pretty much single file. You don't want to stay side by side if you can prevent it. You want to complete your pass on the straightaway. Don't really want to have to go side by side through these corners unless you have to.
Yeah, just remember what's going to end up happening towards the end of this race, Andrew. The marbles that are going to be up in that high line groove as this race goes on, as the rubber wears, and you can see it on the right side of the windshield as we ride on board with the Herbier here. You know, as the run goes on, all of that rubber that's worn off these tires is going to get pushed all the way up to the wall. And if you think you can make a pass on the outside line at the end of the race, you've got to be incredibly bold to be able to do it, because once you get in those marbles, you're going to lose a lot of grip, and that car could snap around on you.
It's that helmet cam driver POV from Vincent Laherbier sitting right in behind Austin Peterson. 15th spot, 1 spot ahead of Lynn Kinchlow, and Kinchlow has caught right up to Laherbier, so they are battling for position early in this race. As I went side by side ahead of these guys, I believe, here we go, Christian Challoner on the inside there of Lyle Callisto, cars number 1 and 2. Challoner in that number 1, Callisto in the number 2. Callisto has been a big part of these race wins along with Nathan Dowd. Callisto, though, still looking for his very first, as Challoner will move on by on the inside lane. And that is a clean pass there for Christian. You see these guys, so Christian's down in 5th gear right now. He's going to upshift on the straightaway to 6th gear. They'll opt to use both of those gears over the course of this race. You won't see them dropping down to 4th unless they have to slow down for some reason. Same for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. But 5th and 6th will get their big time use all race long. In and out of gear, through the corners, down to 5th in the corners, up to 6th in the straightaways. As these guys need to save some fuel later on, you may see some drivers live in 6th gear in the corners, but for right now, if you're trying to be competitive, you've got to drop down to 5th in the corners.
Absolutely, that aero wash is a big thing that we just talked about a little bit ago, Andrew. When you get right behind someone and that engine RPM lows down a lot more, it creates the ability to let the car in front of you dictate where the passing and the line goes. Because if you can't stay with it, oh, we got a spinner on the 4.
Joseph Homan around at a turn number 4, and he's just been clipped. And we're adding to it.
Attenuator back there. Oh my goodness.
Oh boy. Lyndon Swaby seems to be involved. William Fletcher, they're on top of one another. Fletcher will take the tow. Swaby will try and bring that car back around. It was Joseph Homan with the initial spin. There's a look at Lyndon Swaby in the Sector 5 machine.
Definitely missing a front wing there. Luckily, though, this is a series where they can get that front wing fixed. They might have some suspension damage, though, and that might be the big killer on their race moving forward.
Here's Swaby. Oh, just missed that pit attenuator. And
oh,
Fletcher
no.
didn't hold the brakes there and came back down in front of Swaby. Swaby up on top of that machine for a moment. But we're going to see what happened to Homan off the corner to start all of that. Here's the 122, Joseph Homan. And he's got some space out ahead into turn 3. My mind is telling me he probably closes in on these guys. He's tight there through 3. You can tell he's just not able to get down to the apex where he wants to be. Oh, and he was actually way free all the way through turn 4. Wow, that is one bipolar race car.
Yeah, what a way to hang on to it, though. Unfortunately, gets clipped there by a number of drivers, and that's going to end his day.
Well, they've got a fast repair. So they've got a fast repair they can rely on here, so Homan should be all right. Yeah, no car was on the inside of him. He just got free. So I wonder if he was tight in 3 and cranked the weight jacker in 4. And, oh, yeah, there's that car that hit the attenuator. That was Fletcher.
It looks like Fletcher has called it a day here in the Speedway 500. He will be out of this race.
Let's back this up one more time, and we're going to ride on board with Homan. And we're going to go back to that conversation of in-car adjustments. They've got a few things they can do. They can adjust the anti-roll bars front and back. They can also adjust the weight jacker. You can tell he couldn't get down to the apex there in 3. I wonder if he cranked one of those adjustments before, and that's why the car just stepped out and he drifted through the corner. That's impressive. He made it a long ways sideways, but then overcorrected on corner exit, and Fletcher clips him. That's a good look at it there. Fletcher getting the inside wall. But I wonder still if that was a quick adjustment for Homan that just went wrong in turn 4.
IndyCar Tokyo Drift?
Pretty much. That's what happened to him. Here's a look at it for Fletcher, who, as you said, has seemed to have called it a day. We're down to 31 entries now. Fletcher, one of those Sector 5 teammates, which makes it that much more painful because he's a teammate then for Lyndon Swaby and Nathan Dowd and Lionel Callisto, but Fletcher and Swaby collected in this incident together. Oh man, he really had no chance there.
You got to feel for him. So early on in the race. now having to use a fast fix, and you know, you don't want to be putting yourself in that position. But on the same end of the spectrum, this provides an opportunity for guys to head into the pit lane and top off on some fuel, maybe get themselves on a better fuel number. You never know.
Yeah, this is a race that you kind of have to work in reverse, meaning you work it from the end of the race, you try and plan your pit stops if you can. So being that these guys usually run about 30 laps to a run, you want to pit with about 30 to go and run to the end from there. This caution is going to throw some wrenches into those plans. We've already seen a handful of pit stops and a handful of cars staying out. Staying out, you'll find Matt Wagner, Ray Partridge, Nick Kuhn, Ryan Steele, Wayne Hutchison, Richard McClure, and Bob Beltrami, along with Michael Chin. So 8 cars will stay out. First car to have come in is going to be Christian Abate back there in 9th spot out of New England. That's the 09 machine with the very electric blue, red, and black on his car. Nathan Dowd also pitted. Brenton Foster, Robert Nash fell back a couple of spots. He had a longer pit stop. And if you look at the pit timer here, look at that, 10.67 seconds for Nash versus 8.53 for Abate. I'm not sure what went wrong for Nash, if he maybe collected the wall at some point, or if he had to take more fuel, or what went on for him, but a longer pit stop dropped him effectively 3 positions extra versus just those cars that stayed out. And the iRacing.com safety lights have been extinguished, meaning the iRacing.com safety car will take to the relative safety of pit lane and hopefully not get hit by anybody going for the attenuator. And we will get this race back underway into the restart zone and down and away on the front stretch. Matt Wagner in control. We're racing again in the Speedway 500.
Caution right back out.
Yellow flag. Big crash in the back. Daniel Johnson. Jason McSparron, it seems, is involved. There's McSparron's number 22. Gamers and sim racers and whatnot are obsessed with peripherals, Zach, and you know, I'm no different. I do quite like my peripherals that I have, in this case from Razer. I've got a really nice mouse, a really nice keyboard. My mouse and keyboard are synced up with iRacing to flash with flag status, so when it goes green, my keyboard and mouse go green, and when it goes yellow, well, they go yellow as well. To see the difference in colors very quickly right there was a trip for sure. Went green and immediately the yellow came back out. Here is a look at it for McSparron. Right on board. And these are some big gaps, you can tell from McSparron already. These guys are laying back, trying to get a start. And usually that's where things go awry, and sure enough, oh my gosh, what a hit.
I definitely think Race Control should keep an eye on the fact of keeping these guys super bunched up, because that's another thing with single file restarts, Andrew. I already talked about it with how these guys can get so spread out. The checking up, the starting and stopping, and that is one thing that catches a lot of people out right there, because they see the car in front go. You can't see when the leader is going and restarting the field. You have to go off of the guys in front of you. And if the guys in front of you aren't going when the green lights are on, you're still going. It makes things so difficult for everyone to see. And we ride on board here with Johnson, who was down a little bit further, and this is when he just gets tapped. He wasn't even going there, Andrew, so it might have just been the guys getting a little antsy behind him.
Yeah, we're going to watch that back one more time from Johnson's onboard. So he's in first gear here. The upshifts to second, and the leaders start going. That message has not been relayed to the back yet, so he's not even hitting the gas just yet, and he gets run over from behind. So we got to look back one car behind him and see what happened there. Watch this. Looking back from Johnson's car, they just started going. That was the 21 machine of Bryce Roberts, and they just weren't going yet. I don't know what kind of miscommunication there was, but let's watch it from the 21 car. Pretty clear-cut replay there from Bryce Roberts' point of view. He just ran in the back of Daniel Johnson, and to be blunt, caused that crash. So hopefully we can avoid that moving forward, but that's one of those kinks you have to work out here early in this race. And, you know, I mentioned it in my intro, Zach. We've got a lot of drivers making their first start of the season this evening. They run maybe just the Speedway 500 out of the entire year for the Major Series. This is an event that has been focused on by so many drivers. It is open setup. These guys are using this as kind of a tune-up for the iRacing 500 coming in the next couple of weeks. I believe Fixed is next week, Open the week after. So these guys are potentially coming from different walks of life. They maybe haven't run with the Major Series before, maybe aren't used to some of the drivers they're racing around. I don't know if maybe that played into that, but certainly that's something we want to avoid as this race moves forward, because we're bound to have more cautions, bound to have more restarts, and we don't want to have issues like that on these single file restarts if we can keep from doing so. So lap 17 back under yellow, and it looks like the iRacing.com safety car lights have been extinguished, meaning we're 1 to green, and we'll be restarting the next time around. Still, those cars that stayed out under caution number 1 stay out again. Those are Matt Wagner, Ray Partridge, Nick Kuhn, Ryan Steele, Wayne Hutcherson, Richard McClure, Bob Beltrami, and Michael Chin. They lead the field, as a few cars did come back to pit lane, those including Vincent LaHerbier, Jimbo Pfeiffer, Bryce Roberts, Jason McSparron, Daniel B. Johnson, and Joseph Homan.
I think you're missing the Sarah Super Series a little much there, Andrew.
Why is that?
We called him Ryan Kuhn.
Aha!
You called Nick Kuhn Ryan Kuhn.
Yes, I didn't even catch that. Well, to be fair, also there's a Ryan right behind him. Maybe that was part of it too. But I will say McSparron and Johnson, actually Homan and Johnson, are 1 lap down, and Homan seems to have just called it a day. Johnson now the one car that is 1 lap down, and he is actually at the midpoint of the field. So this is one unique thing about this race. Lead lap cars and lap cars have to restart together. In this case, Johnson about 9th in line or so as we come back around to the restart zone to get this race back underway. Waiting on the green flag, and there it is. Let's hope for a clean start this time around. A big jump to the start from Matt Wagner. He gets out ahead of Ray Partridge and Nick Kuhn. A couple of tenths separating these guys at the front of the field as they work down the back straightaway here on lap number 18.
Yeah, we do have 1 pass-through penalty. The 00 of Jimbo Pfeiffer has been black flagged. He's going and serving a pass-through penalty for avoidable contact. And that was, I believe, during the last caution. Oh, taps the wall!
The wall really good there in turn 3, and he will slow that double lock down and bring it to the safety of pit lane this time by, and hopefully his race will get back headed the right direction, but that is severely going to hinder his day as we're 1 lap from the green flag. Matt Wagner out ahead, Ray Partridge in 2nd, Nick Kuhn in 3rd, and there is a battle starting to shape up behind these guys. Challoner on the inside of Nash, he moves up, but then look at Nathan Dowd on the inside there of Christian Abate. Abate stays on the outside and hangs on to that spot for now. And one thing we haven't yet covered, Zach, is weather conditions for this race. In practice, or in warm-up rather, the track temp was 107. Now it's up to 114 degrees. It's midday here in Virtual Speedway, Indiana, meaning this track is going to continue heating up. And as these cars and tires put more heat in the track, that's only going to continue to go skyward by a couple more degrees. So 75 degrees in the air, yes, but 114 on track. It's a warm racetrack, and that is playing into these guys having to lift and coast a little bit through the corners to bring the car right back down to where they need it to be in the corners. We're going to see a lot more of that as this race goes on.
That we will. And I think with the track temp right now, you just saw it tick up to 115. I mean, with how hot and slick it is, you got to assume, especially with what we've seen so far today, these guys have got to be a little bit on edge with how their cars are set up. More than likely, you might see a couple of guys making some air pressure adjustments, maybe a wing adjustment as the race goes on, so this car can roll a little bit better in traffic. It's something that's on my mind too right now, Andrew, and I want to pick your brain about it. Do you think a lot of these guys have their cars set up to run in traffic right now rather than running in the clean air? Because you're going to spend more time running behind someone than you will out in front here, maybe.
You know, it's hard to say because some drivers definitely do expect to be out front, especially if they qualify well, so they might trim the car out a little more and just deal with it when they are in traffic. Me, personally, when I race the Indy 500, I do tend to lay on a little extra downforce, and if I end up out front, I just have to hope that nobody gets to me, right? I prefer to be better in traffic than not, so I might throw on a tick more wing, front and rear, just to help hold the car in the racetrack, but being that it's an open set of brakes with this Indy car, you can do anything you want with it. So you can run a little less downforce and hope for the best, but again, me personally, I try to lay on a little more downforce and just hope that's going to help me through the field as the race goes on. But you can also, of course, as mentioned, work with the weight jacker and anti-roll bars to help accomplish some of those things, even without the extra downforce. Work on the mechanical grip side of things inside the car. So you do have options, but again, I prefer a little more downforce just to help with passing around.
I dig it. I definitely do. I think, personally, when it comes to me running the Indy 500, I think most of the time I'm just looking to get the car out in front best I can. But the fuel saving is the added bonus of riding behind someone most of the time. And, when you've got more downforce on the car, you're not exactly pushing as much heavy load on the engine. You're just cutting through the air a little bit better. It helps with the fuel saving. And you see on board with the bait right here, Christian Abate in the 9th position in the 09. So number 9 running just fine in the number 9 spot. And that's another thing, actually, that we should touch on, too. Andrew, you see those guys putting their left side tires below the white line. That's where grip can be, but a lot of guys early on in the race don't like doing it just because it's easy to snap that car around. There's so many things that can upset this car. The faster you're going, the more unstable the car can be. And finding stability in a car going 230 miles an hour is almost near impossible.
You mentioned these guys dipping their left side tires as low as they can get them. My best run in the Indy 500 on iRacing came some 7 or so years ago. What I happened to do to take myself out of that race, I was running up front. I was leading the race past lap 100, which is always a hurdle for me. Just getting to halfway and continuing on. Somewhere just past halfway, I dipped my tires a little too far to the left going into turn number 2. And there's a grate down there. There's a bump, a drain, a grate. And I just happened to hit that bump in just the right way to send my car into a tizzy and drift all the way through turn 2 and ended up crashing on corner exit. It's so easy to do, and I'm going to be watching for these guys, hopefully not to do that, but it's really easy because that one part of the racetrack is paved. You think you can go a little further down, it's inviting, and then the curb and whatnot just comes flying right at you. You can see where it's paved until right there. So it's very easy to drive a little too far down in these corners and hit the curbing, hit the grass, and get your car upset. One thing I want to touch on as you see some battles in the back is Jimbo Pfeiffer out ahead of these race leaders. Jimbo just hanging on to the lead lap for now. There is a battle at the back end and a spin. Christian Abate on the inside. He is spinning and just catches the race car. He will continue on. That was a massive catch.
Yellow, keep on digging. Oh my goodness.
Just how much the air off these Indy cars is shaking the camera there at the start-finish line. But let's go back and see what happened there to Christian Abate, because that battle is what we were going to go focus on. And then all of a sudden there's a car sideways. Here's the bait in that, again, red, black, and electric blue, number 09, center of your screen. Dives in the inside of one car and then just gets free on corner exit.
Well, you know what, Andrew? I think he had to jump out of the gas there on corner exit for the car in front of him, and the aero wash didn't exactly help him on exit, and he just ended up getting free.
Let's listen on board. Wow. He did have to get out of the gas, but got back in it, and the car just came right around. And again,
that's what I'm talking about.
I have to wonder if an adjustment was made to throw a little more weight jacker at the car or something like that. And just when he got back to gas, if the car just didn't quite like that, I don't know. But regardless, he went for a slide and a spin and just hung onto the race car, continues on, but he is now down, well down the order. It looks like the 09 is now 22nd position as Pfeiffer continues to stay ahead of these race leaders. And this is going to help and hurt Matt Wagner. because it's going to hurt him in the corners, but help his fuel saving if he decides to save off of that 00 machine. But if I had to guess, Zach, I think the leader would always prefer clean air, so if Matt Wagner has a chance, I would suspect that he'll try and go by Pfeiffer.
I don't know about you, but I would love being the leader and still being able to fuel save. That is like a dream come true. There's a couple of downsides to it, obviously. You're in the dirty air now. You're more susceptible to a pass from the car behind. But you've got somebody pulling you. So it's like getting caught in a DRS train in Formula 1. You know, the car in front is pulling you, and then you've got DRS, but the car behind you has DRS, so you're kind of stuck in that bubble right there, and it's hard to escape it. But you're able to fuel safe like this, you're able to keep your lead, and then, you know, once that lap car moves out of the way and you're back in pushing that air around you, being the nose of the field, cutting through the air, you're more susceptible to that car behind you getting past. But it's kind of like what they used to do in the eNASCAR days when they were running the leads on the heat games. They would have someone go out in front and just let everybody else draft. So the one guy would sit behind, take one lap, and then he would go out and stay in front and let these guys draft up on him so they could be fast, save fuel, and overall have a better overall race.
A little racing there just outside the top 10. Brenton Foster, Christian Challenger, and Robert Nash. Dowd actually falling back, so Nathan Dowd falls back to 10th position. Foster goes by on the outside. Dowd is that blue and black machine with the neon yellow number on it. Right behind him is Christian Challenger in the red and black number 1. Followed up by Robert Nash and Brian Bennett. Bennett looks to the inside. It looks, no, there's a lap car in there. Who is that? Daniel Johnson threw me off. So Daniel Johnson is amidst these leaders as well. So Bennett will now come up on Johnson as Challenger dives to the inside of Nathan Dowd here. And there goes Bennett sticking out a line in that Sector 5 machine. Falls back in behind. But, of course, these lead lap cars mixing with the lap cars, they want to dispatch of those lappers as quickly as possible. But it is a tricky business trying to do so.
That it is. Move to the bottom right there. A lot of side-by-side battles going on at the moment. You can see him just out of camera shot. Everybody gets back single file racing now. And, you know, we had the early caution, Andrew, and we're getting into the swing of things, I would say, in about, what do you call it, 15, 20 laps here? Maybe we'll start seeing some green flag pit stops because we did have, oh, that was close right there.
That was Bennett to the inside of Lionel Callisto. Callisto had to lift big time in turn 1, but Bennett takes that spot away. Here's the onboard now from Bennett looking forward. And, you know, Zach, we actually could see a lot of green flag pit stops coming up very, very soon for our race leaders. Matt Wagner and company, they have not yet pitted. So Wagner, Partridge, Kuhn, Steele, those guys, they could have to pit very soon as we've gone past lap 30. And I mentioned, you know, these guys get about 30 laps of fuel, give or take a couple of laps, depending on how much saving they're able to do. Sometimes more, sometimes less. You might have a 29 lap run one time, might have a 33 lap run another time. So we expect these leaders to hit pit lane very soon as there is a side-by-side fight back here. Bob Beltrami, the first of those cars that have stayed out, to be passed up by the cars that have pitted. Beltrami falling back now to 11th position. Make that 12th as Robert Nash goes by. I was just about to say as well, the guys that had pitted had not lost any spots to the cars that have until then. So Brenton Foster leading the charge of drivers that have taken one stop so far this race. He is now up into 8th. The only car that has stayed out that has lost spots is Beltrami, now down to 12th. And if I had to guess, he may be one of the first of those cars to pit just to get those new tires in that race car and head back out there. Foster on the outside of Chin. So another one will fall. Another one of those staying out cars will fall down the order just a little bit. Foster moving forward. Challenger goes by in that number 1. Michael Chin will now fall back to 9th. And we await our race leaders on pit lane really at any point in time. Of course, they have saved fuel over those course of those couple of cautions, so they can go a little bit longer, but we don't know exactly how long, Zach. We're to find out here in the next few laps.
I would assume, based off of the timing of the last caution, that we'll start seeing these guys coming down pit road maybe closer to lap 50. Now, we'll have a few drivers going down pit road a little bit sooner because, I believe you said it yourself, most of the top 10 actually stayed out on that first caution. So they might all head down pit road a little bit sooner, but most of the time you can kind of break up these segments into, I want to say about quarters, because a lot of time you'll see guys pitting around lap 40 mark, so that wouldn't be quarters, like 40, 80, 120, 160, 200, so 7 stops? 6, really?
Oh, that was close off the corner. I don't know who that was either off the fence. But somebody about knocked the wall down. That was McClure and Foster side by side. Foster, I believe, on the outside. Yes. Foster on the outside is the car that nearly got the wall. McClure goes way up that time in 3. These guys are screaming for new tires. They have run now 37 laps in the original set of tires. And here we go. Pit stops underway.
McClure called out that he was pitting. Big lockup on the right side right there, getting down to pit road speed. That yellow cone right there is the timing line, so that's when you got to be slowed up by getting into the pit lane. They push it a little bit further back when they've got an IndyCar here. Obviously, if NASCAR comes here, that yellow cone would be a little bit further down. Looks like they'll be taking 4 tires and fuel. Now we've got a pass. The lap car is going to get out of the way as Wagner moves on by. Here's a pass right now. There you see Clear out in front. So much action going on around the racetrack right now, Andrew.
I was just about to mention as well, when they came in and pitted, you'll see the yellow cone
Wagner
a little further down as Wagner comes into the pit lane and another will follow. That will be, looks like Michael Chin coming in as well here on lap 38. Wagner, Chin, and now one more will come down the pit lane, and that is going to be Andy Banfield. But that timing line, that speed line, if you will, the yellow cone, is moved down on this open wheel oval version of the racetrack compared to where it is for the NASCAR version. So a very big distinction. And it looked like when they came in, that first car that came in, who was that again? That was, I got to find it back in my time. It's going McClure. It looked like McClure slowed down a little bit early, and Beltrami carried on to that open wheel slowdown line, if you will. And here we go. More cars coming in. This should be the rest of those cars that have stayed out.
Yeah, it's 4 more cars coming into the pit lane, and that allows guys that just came in, like McClure, to try and get back on the lead lap. Beltrami, the first car, 1 lap down. These guys don't get free pass, Andrew. They do not get any waiver rounds or lucky dogs or anything like that. They've got to earn their laps back the hard way. So that creates a problem that if you are trapped a lap down under a caution flag, you're at risk of staying a lap down. It's a lot harder to get that car back on the lead lap. These are the guys that just pitted that now need to get themselves back on the lead lap, and I believe that's Foster right up there in front, that they're trying to get around and get themselves back on the lead lap so they can continue on in this race in a competitive fashion. And they're going fast enough around this track that they can get lapped under the green flag conditions. Pfeiffer goes a lap down now, so these guys are just, they're working it. They're trying to see what they can do and get back up to the front.
Yeah, that was Pfeiffer that was in front of the train. He falls a lap down now behind Brenton Foster. Foster is that all-yellow machine that has just taken the race lead. Christian Challoner a few cars back in the red number 1, right, and he dives out of line now behind, or I guess underneath, of Pfeiffer. But right behind the race leader is Bob Beltrami. He is number 14. We saw him at Charlotte be a big part of that race late in the event. Beltrami was the first, or one of the first 2 cars along with McClure to come in and pit. He is trying to get his lap back. As you see some other cars ahead that had a better time on pit lane and got out ahead of Foster. You can just, if you time it perfectly to the front of the field, you can just hang on to the lead lap. If you're a little bit slower in and out, you might lose that lap, as Beltrami did. He's going to run, though. He'll take it down to the inside of Foster. This is turn number 3. Beltrami trying to get back on the lead lap. He's got brand new tires, and those Firestones work out for him. He will move to the inside of Foster and take that spot away. Well, I say spot, take that literal physical spot on the racetrack away, as Foster will continue to lead, but Beltrami now is back on the lead lap. And one battle to watch as well, even though these guys don't get lucky dogs, will be Pfeiffer and McClure, as they are the top 2 cars 1 lap down. They are now battling amidst the top 5 and top 10 of the lead lap cars. So, they've got their right to fight, but they can't impede the leaders, and that's a very tricky balance, a very tricky line to walk.
You're going 230 miles an hour around this track, and lap times are about in the 45-second range. You're always walking on a tricky line here at this racetrack, especially in these race cars. So we ride on board in the 3rd spot with Robert Nash, and Nash was another driver who was really in contention back at Charlotte, and he gets passed up here by Nathan Dowd. These 2 drivers, they have got some of the most competitive personalities in the field. They have always been up front. They've been running consistently throughout these races. They were very, very competitive last race at Charlotte, and obviously Dallas Pataska outlasted all of them, especially on the tire saving. He was good on the long run and was there in the end. So these guys are looking to rebound a little bit from that. They knew they had competitive cars. They knew they could win the race, and now they're still running inside the top 5, looking to see if they can take this one away.
Ray Partridge, one of those drivers that stayed out for a while and then pitted. He goes fastest in car number 8. He is on the lead lap, some 31 seconds behind these guys, in the 20th position, right behind Wagner. So they are running fast laps down there, those guys that have pitted.
I believe I just saw
on board, though, with
Peterson.
Christian Challoner, who is riding in 2nd spot. We've got to watch Challoner. He has come through this field. Let's see where he started. 10th position. And that might not sound like a whole lot, Zach, but consider this. A third of the field is 11 cars. He started 10th. He's worked through just shy a third of the field. That is impressive. When you go through that much traffic in this kind of race, that is something to watch. And we had a lucky break there for Christian Abate. I think that might make Lucky Performance Lucky Break of the Day award at some point today. But as far as driver of the day, we already have to be watching this number 1 cars. You see Foster ahead, get a little bit tight there through turn number 2 behind the lap car of Beltrami. Dowd drops now out of line, as he will look to pass the lap car of McClure. Is Dowd doing so? But Challoner,
oh boy.
Challoner, in my opinion, is an early contender for driver of the day as Nash goes around Dowd on the outside.
Yeah, McClure just biding his time, waiting for these guys to pit. The pit cycle's already started. Banfield coming out of the pit lane now. He just called it out about a lap ago that he was going to be pitting. I thought it was Peterson. I looked in and saw my race communication. I saw a 7 at the end of the number, so I assumed Peterson. But looks like I should have been looking for 777s. As you see Banfield taking the access road out of the pit lane, and iRacing telling these drivers that they need to be using the correct pit lane and not branch out into the acceleration lane that is used here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A lot of IndyCar drivers, NASCAR drivers have used it recently. In recent years, Indianapolis has been a little bit more lenient on that, but iRacing says, no, thank you, sir. We're going to keep these guys in a good position. We've got more cars ducking into the pit lane, Andrew.
Yeah, so let's watch this for Lyndon Swaby. On board with Swaby, watch how he has to keep the line nice and tidy on the inside between these white lines, exiting pit lane. He cannot go wide and get that run like you can do in real life. IndyCar and NASCAR will allow you to go out a little further, but NASCAR last year made a big stink, if you will, about where these drivers could and could not go. What was considered the racing line, or what was considered the racing surface, rather, that was the verbiage used. Anything above that white line in NASCAR, the second white line there, was considered a penalty, and it got the waters got murky. It got hard to police. In iRacing, thankfully, it is very clear. You can use in between these two white lines. You cannot use anything beyond that. So it's a little more restricting, but a whole lot more clear and much more easy to police. And the sim will give you an automatic penalty if you go beyond those lines. I like that, as this is Abate leaving the pit lane, merging now with Beltrami as Foster continues to lead.
We got more cars getting ready to duck into the pit lane. Challoner calling out that he'll be heading to the pit lane this time by. So I would assume that a number of the front runners, including Foster, Nash, and maybe Dowd, might be ducking in this time. We'll have to wait and see. It's all based on the fuel saving, Andrew.
Foster
looking
stays
in,
out.
Here comes Challoner.
This is that run into the pit lane to that further down line, the cone a little bit further into the entry.
Brings a lot of cars with him.
See those cars lined up behind him. Looks like Nathan Dowd, Brian Bennett, Logan Edwards, Austin Peterson.
This is going to promote Wagner back up a few spots. He's still on the racetrack right now. Rolling back around, he'll get in front of these cars and potentially put himself back up inside the top 5. Only the top 4 have stayed out on the racetrack so far. None of them have pitted. That's Foster, Nash, Callisto, and Staropoli. There you see one driver ducking in. Very heavy going in. That's Robert Nash leading the rest of these guys down into the pit lane. Lockup back there by what I believe was Callisto.
It's actually Brenton Foster heading to the pit lane in all yellow number 11. He brings Callisto and Staropoli along with. Staropoli will meet his box. Here's Callisto working into the pit lane, and he goes one lap further along with Foster and Staropoli than a lot of these other front runners. That's something to watch. We've also got to watch for Nash going even another lap further. And it looks like he is the final car to pit here. So Robert Nash, as this race goes on, if this race stays green, we've got to watch out for this 96 car. He is extending this fuel run a little further as there's one more pitting. Is that Wayne Hutchison, maybe? No, that's not Hutchison. That is... Who is that behind him? That is going to be Daniel Johnson. That'll do it. So he's a lap down. Nothing to worry about just yet. But Robert Nash, again, one to watch as this run goes on. If this green flag run continues, he is extending these green flag runs just a little bit longer than the rest of these guys. Matt Wagner will reassume the race lead. There he goes back by Robert Nash. Wagner now out front. And this race now begins to simplify a little bit. What I mean by that is these guys are now much more spread out. So where they are on track is a little more simple to follow. The battles will pop up in more remote locations around the racetrack. These guys are more spread out, so we can follow these guys a little more easily as Wagner's got the race lead. Partridge is second. Nick Kuhn will go by, or rather get passed by Ryan Steele. This is for third. And we're back to pretty much where these guys were before the pit stops began.
Yeah, we've only got 3 cars that are not on the lead lap. Austin O'Neill did not start this race. Then you've got William Fletcher, who's 42 laps down. I believe he is actually out of the race. Excuse me. Joseph Human is out. And then you've got Jimbo Pfeiffer and Daniel Johnson. Those two just passed up each other, swapped positions. So Pfeiffer, the first car, 1 lap down. He's trying to fight to get back onto the lead lap. Johnson's trying to get back on the lead lap after the cautions early on. So got a real switch up from what was going on earlier in the race, and I think right there we saw on board, that was a really good example of aero wash on these cars. Really close on the diffuser, I'll say. There's no bumpers on these cars. And then just way backs off on exit of the corner.
Nice battle here. This is the third spot. Ryan Steele and Nick Kuhn. Kuhn taking a later arc into the corner, getting a little more air on that wing before he ducks in behind Steele. You see a little further up the racetrack there, keeping air on the nose of that race car, trying to keep front downforce on it. He's got Michael Chin in behind, then Wayne Hutchison in 6th. Brenton Foster's way back there in 7th spot. This, the battle for 3rd position. And there's a question that's been posed, Zach, on the YouTube chat, asking who the fan favorite is. And that's hard to say. I don't know that there necessarily is a fan favorite. I think Challenger is a big threat to win this race as the race goes on. But who would you say, through these first 55 laps, the first quarter of this race, who would you say seems to be the biggest threat to win, the favorite to win right now? I know Wagner's leading. He looks good. Robert Nash, of course, with extending the fuel and leading some laps early. Foster was really good in traffic. Challenger as well. Who's piquing your interest so far?
Personally, I don't want to start going and outright picking somebody at the moment, just because a lot of these guys in the top 10 are on very differing fuel strategies because of how those early cautions played out. Most of these guys in the top 10 are separated on fuel strategy by almost 10 laps. There is a big division. If I had to take a shot out of left field, I would go with Robert Nash or Nathan Dowd, just because of the consistency that the two of them have shown throughout the season so far. There you see them both riding at the moment. They're sitting just inside the top 10. Robert Nash in the 9th spot and Nathan Dowd 10th. You can see it on the ticker here as we look onward and their driver cams. Those two just have always been very consistent throughout the season so far. They were consistent with the Coke 600, and they were consistent here right now through these first 50 laps. And, you know, it's hard to say that someone's consistent in this series because the Major Series is rolling through all of these big name events and constantly getting into different cars. You're never in the same car twice. They've got NASCAR Gen 4 last time we were out at Charlotte. We're in the IndyCar now. We'll be in Le Mans style cars with the hypercars and the GT cars throughout the next 2 events. So that's probably the only time that you will be in the same car regardless of what you're running. Then you've got the Dallara IR05 moving forward, a super late model, back into the IMSA again for the Petit Le Mans, into the NASCAR Next Gen 3 supercars for the Bathurst 500, and then the Japanese GP in the Super Formula car. So you're getting a lot of different classes moving here, and I think with those two, with everything we've seen through so far, with how many different cars we've been in, they stand out the most. Sorry, I went on a tangent there, Andrew.
No, it was a good tangent because, as you mentioned, the only cars that we're doubling up on is the IMSA/Le Mans style classes, and there really isn't much difference between them, but they are listed differently here on the schedule. We have the Daytona 2.4 in the IMSA classes. We have Le Mans coming up through the month of June with the Le Mans 2.4, and then Majors 24 there in June, and then we revisit those classes again, as you said, for Petit Le Mans in September. Otherwise, you are mixing things up entirely all year long, all different race cars, all different race tracks. Very little consistency in the schedule, keeping these guys on their toes, and we love that about the Major Series, but it does make it much harder to stick with one driver through these different races, much harder to expect, or know what to expect, rather, from these guys as these races goes on. Here on lap 59, Matt Wagner continues to lead, Ray Partridge second, Ryan Steele third. We are watching Brenton Foster as the first of those drivers that pitted later. They're on the alternate strategy, if you will. They pitted under the cautions and extended their run a little bit further beyond what the guys that stayed out were able to do. So we're going to watch these guys very closely. As far as the first battle on the racetrack, though, it would be your 2 leaders, Matt Wagner, Ray Partridge. They are very close together, within a second of one another, and Partridge is just kind of sniffing that draft here and there, trying to work up to Wagner. And there is an art to this, Zach, working the ARB, working the weight jacker, trying to make sure you have mechanical grip so you can stay in that wake of the car ahead. If we go on board, you can kind of see what we're talking about. He drops down into 5th gear, tries to get down to that white line, but you can tell the car is struggling to get there. It doesn't have enough downforce to get down to that white line. That time in 4, he got down there, but he also fell further back. So on the straightaway, watch this delta. He's going to close in a little bit, closer down to 7/10, exactly inside of 7/10 even. But then as he dives into turn 1, it's harder to get down to that white line, loses some time. Try to get in 2, loses some more time, and then he'll gain it back on the straightaway. So he's got to work the anti-roll bar, he's got to work the weight jacker, and try and make sure he's got the mechanical grip to overcome the loss of aero grip.
And that's a big difference in Indianapolis, especially on the IndyCar, compared to other racetracks. You see a lot of closing in corners because there are guys that are great on corner entry, there's guys that are great on corner exit, so that's where we see a lot of the battles and a lot of the passing. Obviously, in things like NASCAR, you see somewhat similar, but they catch them on straightaways as well, and make passes down the straightaways here as well. But when it comes to an IndyCar, with just how these things cut through the air, the aero wash is so much different compared to anything else that you'll ever drive when it comes to race cars. NASCARs are big, heavy stock cars. They don't cut through the air very well. These things do, but the air goes all over the place. So it's hard to actually be able to find a line that can really work. A lot of times they say in an IndyCar, when you're running on an oval, you need to run offset the line, which means that if the guy's running the bottom, you need to run the top. If the guy's running the top, you need to run the bottom. Get out of the air and get yourself in some clean air. Clean air is, necessary in racing, but it's a lot more prevalent in an IndyCar.
And while we've been on board with Partridge here, he's gone from inside of 7/10 to outside of 9/10 back. So he's kind of ebbing and falling a little bit, closing in, then losing time as he continues to try to work on Wagner here. You see he lost more time there in turn 2, but he's inside that draft. He's able to pull back up down the back straightaway. And he's going to lose more time in the corner, but you're trying to minimize how much time you lose in the corners, maximize how much time you gain on the straightaways, so you can try and get closer to Wagner as this race goes on. To focus on some of the rest of the field, though, Laherbian and Jackson are side by side down the backstretch here. This is a great battle between these two. Jackson on the outside, the Herbier down low on the inside. This is for 19th position, and these drivers pitted 1 lap apart, so they're on relatively equal tires, and Jackson will take that spot away. Oh, the Herbier got way low and nearly got the wall on exit.
Has a big snap right there to keep that car off the wall. That's a good job. There's a fight right behind them.
Then Kinchlow going by Ross Banfield. Actually, that is a lap car. That is going to be Jimbo Pfeiffer, I think. It is.
He is 1 lap down at the moment. Still the first car 1 lap down. Actually, excuse me. The first car 1 lap down is still Johnson, and now we've got J. Sigma Sperring. He is also 1 lap down. He's 2 laps down, actually.
And parked.
In the pit lane.
He's been here for some 55 seconds. He did bring the car into the pit lane. Actually, hang on. So he did bring the car to the pit lane under power. Let's see if we can find when he came in. See if maybe there was a problem with the 22 car here. Or if he just pitted out of his own volition. Right on board. He's in traffic. It just seems to pit. So considering he's 2 laps down and counting, now 3 laps down, looks like maybe he just decided he had had enough.
Pretty heavy entry right there into the pit lane. No black flags or anything, though, so he's definitely just sitting there for a little while from the looks of it. And we take a look back at our race leader of Wagner and that 616 car. I'm always so tempted every time I see 616. It makes me think of Marvel, just because the prime Earth in the comics is 616. So I'm sorry. If yesterday was Free Comic Book Day and there's new Speed Racer comics, then I've got comic books on my mind. But the thing that I'm looking at right now is that Partridge has fallen outside of that draft. The one thing that you were talking about, or you were most prevalent about, was that draft, that toe, as they like to refer to it, as Partridge is outside of that window. He's a further couple tenths back than what he was when we first looked at him. He's outside of a second. So now I feel like it just falls down onto performance of the car. He's not falling any further back to Steele, but he's not exactly gaining anything to Wagner. So performance of the car-wise, the setup, it's starting to play into it. Now he's starting to close that gap back in. He's going to get back into that dirty air, and he might just start losing it again. He might just keep piggybacking, bouncing back and forth a little bit.
We are now right at a third of the way through the race, and Wagner's coming in a little bit earlier here. Remember, they went about 39 laps in their previous run. This is lap 28 for Wagner when he comes in here, so a little bit earlier. And this is where these guys are starting to work some math. I'm going to save myself and you from doing math right now. We'll start doing that after lap 100 as far as when these guys are going to cycle out, because otherwise we'll be talking about it for laps on laps. Right now, what we can observe is that Wagner just pitted earlier than the rest of these guys, lap 28 of the run, as Partridge and Steele now work on their own lap 28 of their run, as Wagner is down and away from Sector 5 Esports. Here's Partridge around turn 4. Does he come in this time? No.
Nope, stays out.
So I think that's a strategy move to pit a little bit sooner, undercut the drivers he's racing against, and maybe try and get that 1.5 or so second race lead over Partridge as this race goes on and as things cycle out. So a nice move there from Wagner to do so. There is a battle now shaping up inside the top 5. Chin and Hutchison. This is for 4th. Either relatively close. And more cars are coming in. Beltrami and Kinchlow both into the pit lane. So already we've yapped long enough for these guys to go through a full fuel run and have to come back down to the pit lane for tires and fuel alike. While they do so, and the order mixes up a little bit, we want to take a look at what's upcoming here at Pit Stop TV just briefly and see what's next up here for the channel.
Oh,
right
baby.
there, yeah, you can see the BRB Butt Kicker Cup Series is back on Pit Stop TV. They concluded their season number 3 back in March. I believe actually on April 1st, technically. But they are back here in May for season number 4, beginning, of course, at Daytona. And then 2 days later, we conclude a season of racing for the North American Racing League as they have their finale also at Daytona. From the Daytona Oval with the NASCAR Next Gen vehicle to the Daytona Road Course with GT3 cars. Going to be a lot of fun this week. A whole lot of Daytona for us to kick off the month of May. I know it's May. We should be at Indy Thankfully, we're Indy tonight, but a week of Daytona ahead for us, and then the BRB Butt Kicker Cup Series moves on to Texas the week after on May 13th. Now, back to pit stops. We watch Hutcherson here. He has stayed out on to lap 31 of a run. Partridge, though, came in at exactly this point in the run, lap 31. So, Hutcherson is due in really at any point in time. This is about the extent of what these guys can do on an ordinary fuel run. There goes Partridge back on the racetrack. There goes Wagner by him. And
he's gonna lose time here.
Yeah, Wagner is really going to pull big time on Partridge. This is a big difference all of a sudden. And here comes Hutcherson to the pit lane.
That leaves Foster and Chalonier and Nash and Callisto out on the racetrack.
And they've all got about 10 more laps to go.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier. These guys have a separation of about 10 laps when it comes to their fuel mileage, and there is the added strategy that is playing into this now, because most of these guys may be able to cut a pit stop out. Some of these guys might not be able to do it. If we have a mid-race caution, it could start shaking things up in the perspective of the guys that pitted early on, because that just gives them the added bonus of getting back on cycle with these guys and not exactly giving up that time on strategy. But it's always the mix of things when it comes to racing, Andrew. You and I both know it. We've seen it firsthand. We've experienced it firsthand on how things can absolutely change in an instant on the racetrack.
So if we work this race in reverse, we'll do a little bit of math, and I'm going to keep this light for right now. So I'm noticing a trend here. These guys that pitted under the first yellows and got fuel and then extended their run to about 40 laps and pitted about 20 laps to go, around lap 40, they will be able to stretch to about lap 80. From there, you pit every 30 laps or so. You pit at 110, 140, 170, and then 200. And that, at a very early look at this race, not accounting for what cautions could lie ahead, that seems like that could be a winning strategy. So Foster, Challoner, Nash, Dowd, Callisto, these guys that have yet to pit their second time, or I guess, yeah, I would say second time, that did not stay out earlier, they came in a little bit later, they might be on the right track. And I'm saying might for right now because it seems like they just might be able to make it to that lap 80 mark, to make it to lap 110, and then 140, and then 170, then 200. And that's the ideal way you work this race out, because, Zach, as opposed to what we see in oval ranks on the stock car side, we do not have green-white checkers. They don't have to have any fuel beyond lap 200. They can run out as they cross the checkered flag, or have enough fuel to do so, and not have to worry about it, because we're not going to go to lap 201 or 202 or anything like that. They just need enough fuel to finish lap 200 under whatever circumstances that may be. So, again, if you work that backwards every 30, you get to lap 80 when you need to make your next pit stop, and these guys can definitely do that. They're on lap 24 right now of their run if you're Foster, and 25 if you're Challoner, 23 if you're Nash, 25 if you're Dowd. These guys can get to lap 80. They might be on a very early right track to success in this race. But, you know what, we'll keep the math there. We don't want to do any math beyond that right now, because it's a little complicated, and we know how we are with math.
My head hurts too much from math.
Exactly. So what we'll do is fall back into the field a little bit and look at Brian Bennett in that blue 71. He is just on the back end of Christian Abate. They are separated by some 0.3 of a second, and this battle, Zach, is for 8th position.
See those left side tires dipping below the white line. A little bit of closing rate down on the front straightaway too, so you can really see what's going on from this onboard cam. I love these onboard cams. I love seeing it from the headrest. I love seeing it from the helmet cam. Just seeing what these drivers are going through inside the race car and having to work through it. And you know, that brings up a topic that was brought to my attention out in the YouTube chat. Someone asked how similar these cars are on the sim compared to real life Indy cars, and iRacing has prided themselves, the iRacing.com sim has prided themselves on creating a realistic simulation. And I'm not speaking from the experience of driving an Indy car, but I would like to think these cars are very, very similar to how they are portrayed for their real-life counterparts.
Yeah, so, Das Skip, if you're still watching here on YouTube, this is the IndyCar. The IndyCar as a caution is out, and it's Brenton Foster, it looks like. Race leader.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
To answer the question, while we queue up a replay here and look at Brenton Foster with no right front left on the car, this is the IndyCar, the Dallara IR18. This is scanned by iRacing, laser scanned down to the smallest measurement you can think of. And it is put into the sim. Now, there's different numbers they have to work on to make it as realistic as possible, but this is as close as you can get to a real IndyCar on a laser-scanned, real Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is as close as you're going to get online racing to what these guys are doing later on Memorial Day weekend in the Indianapolis 500. Now, we'll talk more about the differences in these cars compared to Formula 1 cars later. For now, we got to see what just happened to our race leader. And Zach, I called it out earlier. Oh, from the lead, I hit that bump down there going into turn 2. And I said I'd be watching for somebody to hopefully not do the same thing. But Zach, what did he just do?
He hit the bump.
A little delayed answer, but yes. Watch this.
I was looking through. I was looking through. I'm sorry. I was looking through the ticker because I was trying to see what was going on when it comes to the lineup, because this is what we talked about, Andrew. These guys don't get free passes or anything, and we've got cars trapped a lap down in the green flag cycle. Oh man, that's a heavy impact right there. I'm sure he's going to be done for the day.
Well, there's a fast repair. Don't forget that.
Oh yes, I keep forgetting about that.
There is that fast fix, but if we watch this back, this is back to turn 4. Watch Brenton Foster through turn 1 and how low he gets there. This is right ahead of Christian Challenger. Challenger was not far back at all. But watch this number 11 as he rounds the corner here. Nice entry, got right down to the curbing perfectly. But we'll slow it down here on entry to turn number 2. There's a bump down there. We'll go to the onboard. There's a bump that he ends up finding. He goes below the white line trying to get down to that curbing. Hits that bump before that he even gets to the curbing, and it throws the car sideways, and he's stuck drifting through the corner, overcorrects, and just washes out to the wall. He was along for the ride once he hit that bump. It's almost impossible to save once you hit it.
Now you saw him counter-steering to the right because you have to drive out of the slide. That's how it goes in dirt racing too. We've seen it with the VRB Butt Kicker Cup Series guys. Cut it back to the right. Most of those guys have come from a dirt racing background, so they know what I'm talking about. But, you know, he cuts to the right to get that car back corrected in the right direction, and then cuts it back to the left to, in reality, straighten it up. But he's chasing the car up the racetrack at that point because he's losing all grip.
Now, he's got a mulligan. He's got a gimme here. He can get back in this race. We do it in the official iRacing Indianapolis 500. You don't have that fast repair. You don't have that mulligan. So, Brenton Foster, yes, that's a pain. That just completely hindered his day and threw him to the back of the field, but he's still in it. It is not yet out of this race. Now, if you look up at the race leaders as we're doing so now, Matt Wagner is the race leader, and he is about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th in line right now. He's that black and white car, 7th in line. He's got Beltrami, he's got McClure, and a couple of others ahead of him, including Lynn Kinchlow even, that are going to now go ahead of the pace car and line up with the back end of the field. So the iRacing.com safety car will pick up Matt Wagner as the race leader. So a lot of these guys that were trapped a lap down, they're saved by the bell here. They'll be able to go back ahead of the pace car, get back on the lead lap, they're okay. Especially because a lot of the guys that were trapping some of those cars that had just pitted 1 lap down also had to come in and pit. And Zach, back to pit strategy, back to working this race in reverse. If this thing goes green from here, it is lap 81. They just pitted on lap 80. That is the money lap. That is exactly where you want to pit to line this thing up to be perfect to the end. And Challoner, Nash, Callisto, Dowd, Edwards, Staropoli, and so many more just pitted at that perfect time. They're set up to do this thing green to the end if it goes that way. likelihood, probably not. Probably get a, you know, it's likely we get another caution or two. But if this thing goes green, they're set up well.
That it could. Giving you a little recap before we turn them back green. The 11 got the EOL for being the cause of the yellow, but you guys, McClure, Johnson, they're back on the lead lap, Andrew. They got their laps back. They're ready to get back in contention for this race. We've only got 2 cars 1 laps down. Then we got 1 car 5 laps down, and they're single file rolling through 4. Pace cars should be pulling off this time by, and we're going to send them back green flag racing.
See drivers closing the gaps ahead, trying to get ready for this restart. 81 laps will be complete. That leaves 119 left to go. Green flag back in the air in the major Speedway 500. Oh, I love that camera right there coming off of turn number 2. These guys getting back through the gears, back up to speed, and this is where things get chaotic once again. Everybody back together as a collective, a full field, ready to go back at it through these corners. Oh man, we are back to racing here in the Speedway 500, exactly where we want to be. Now, Matt Wagner, the whole top 6, they all have to pit an extra time compared to the guys that just pitted under that caution. So, question now is, will they get saved by another caution, or are they caught out for good?
I want to say always expect a caution, but these guys have had a long green flag round, Andrew. We went through 2 cycles of green flag pit stops. There is added potential all over the place that this race could run green for a long, long time. We had the 2 quick yellows. We sorted that out. We've gotten through it. Now we're into these green flag runs, and we saw that caution only come out just because one driver made a simple mistake. You know, but on the other hand, that's all it could take sometimes.
The air off these cars really shaking that camera off turn 4, and again here to turn number 1. This is just such a good look though through the field as they all run single file. Nobody really side by side just yet. They're all early in this run, try to settle in and make sure they can go the distance. There's a side by side though. Christian Challoner, Wayne Hutchison. Challoner moves forward, and he is the first car on brand new tires, first car that pitted under that caution.
He is moving forward. That is what you like to see here in Indianapolis. When you have a car that can pass drivers left and right without needing assistance, that's when you know you got a car that can win this race. And if you know that you have that potential, you have to build upon it. You can't sit around thinking, I'll just ride for a little bit, I'll save some fuel, I'll ride around. If you know you can go, you gotta go. And look at Challoner, he's looking around the outside, and he's gonna try to take position around the outside. Can he get clear? Maybe. He'll have the run down the back straightaway. They'll be side by side. He's got a little bit of help behind, and that should be a run clear, passing to the outside. How about that one, Andrew?
He did it on the outside. Nash looks to do it on the inside, but Hutchison and Hutchison and Chin very close together as they work off a turn 4. I can't get over that one. Here's Nash though, trying to go by on the inside. He will do it there on Hutchison, and now looks up to Chin in the Buckies, number 622. He gets the 1 pass made, couldn't get the other just yet. You know, Chin is just chilling in 6th.
How long did you sit on that one?
Not very. I thought of it and then just kind of said it. Kind of like when I said chill. But anyways, working up to lap 100 nearly. We're getting so close to halfway, and I want to reflect a little bit on the early goings of this race. I want to reflect a little bit on the early goings of this race and the moment that we saw in turn number 3 for Christian Abate, because that easily could have been somebody's race over very, very soon. And you know, even with that mulligan in the bag, you don't want to have to burn it that early in the race. Thankfully for Christian Abate, he was able to save that race car and not go for a full spin. And Zach, I haven't seen anything since then that has really piqued my interest for Lucky Performance, Lucky Break of the Day. So I'm going to give it early here. Not officially, but I'm going to give him the early lead in Lucky Performance, Lucky Break of the Day contention. Christian Abate is piquing that interest so far. That save in turn 3, if you missed it, really, you've just got to go back and catch it. It was a really good catch, and so far is the luckiest thing I've seen happen in this race.
Sitting here trying to think of one myself, of a lucky performance, lucky break of the day that could be a potential nomination, and the only thing that I can really think of is some of these guys getting back on the lead lap after that caution flag come out. And they say that Daniel Johnson has actually gone one lap down again. I believe he needed to tuck back into the pit lane, top off on some gas, maybe. Not sure, but I might have to be in agreement with you there, Andrew. I don't see any other real big nominations for lucky performance, lucky break of the day.
One other driver to highlight quickly is going to be Ross Banfield. 1 lap down, along with Jimbo Pfeiffer and Daniel B. Johnson. Also, Jason McSparron has worked his way back onto the racetrack in 30th spot, so he is in it for the long haul. But if you reflect here on the 29th position, and again, Ross Banfield started 28th. He has had a bad day so far. He's only been as high as 12th position, which after starting 28th is pretty solid. It's one car gets the wall. That's McClure. Oh, whoa, that was really, really close. Trying to get back in line there ahead of Lynn Kinchlow. Kinchlow will make the pass, but that was a big moment for sure. Regardless, Banfield is a longtime veteran here of the Major Series, and in one of the premier events here in the Major Series in 2025, this is not where he wants to be. So we're going to try and follow his race as the day goes on. There's only 110 laps to go. But Banfield in the 777 is trying to bounce back and get back on the lead lap and fight through the field. I go back to when I first started calling the Major Series back in 2018 with LSR TV. And he's one of those names that was in the field way back then, along with Lynn Kinchlow and a couple others here like Christian Challoner. But to see him struggling today is a great pain, honestly, because he deserves to have a good run here in Indianapolis and wants to find that good run, but just so far it's eluding him so far today. We'll see. We'll see as the day goes on if he can move back on the lead lap and move back through the field, but right now it's not looking great for the 777.
Well, it's a long race, Andrew. There is still plenty of time for things to transpire. We ride on board now with Logan Edwards. He is chasing down Nathan Dowd for that 10th position. This is what I was talking about earlier, Andrew. You got to run off the line. Run a little higher. Run offset to the car in front of you to get that run. Keep that momentum in clean air. Got to watch for that dirty air. You see how Edwards is closing a lot down the front straightaway. He might make a move going into turn number 1. No, he thinks better of it. Backs out, stays in line. Now he falls in line again with Nathan Dowd in that number 7, and he's just kind of riding. So biding his time, being patient. I like it.
And of course, Dowd is the series points leader coming into today. He's been on top of the points since Daytona, way back at round number 1, the Daytona 2.4. He won in class there, then won the race for Daytona, or the Intimidator at Daytona, the full 500-mile race there on the NASCAR 1987 vehicles. Did it on fuel mileage back at Daytona. Then won in the GT3 machinery back at Road America rather. We just had Road Atlanta this past week in North American Racing, so I got Road Atlanta on the brain, but he won at Road America in round 3. And then won again, that was the 3rd win in the row, so then he finished, I think it was 2nd down off Itasca, last time out in the NASCAR Gen 4 vehicles at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So Dowd nearly went for a 4th straight win. He would like to get back to his winning ways, but so far he's only been as high as watch the lap. Well, it's a confusing stat line. So he's been as high as 1st, Zach, but he has not led a lap yet.
Well, there's only one lap that really matters, Andrew, and that would be the last one.
Very true. Regardless, that is your points leader coming into today. You've been on top of the point standings all season long and would like to continue that streak. Right now, he's behind his Sector 5 teammate in Lionel Callisto, who is trying to move through the standings. Callisto, if we go back to the standings briefly, oh man, going into Charlotte, he was like 20th spot, moved up to 17th. But look how far back Callisto is. In 17th spot, he's got to pass Dick Mueller, Lynn Kinchlow, Brian McGreevy, Bryce Roberts. Some of these guys are in this race. Some of these guys are in lower splits or maybe didn't run this race. He's got guys like Ray Partridge, Scott Kennedy, Ryan Steele ahead of him, and he's got a long ways to go, does Lionel, but never say never, right?
Never say never. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
And as we embark on a new green flag run, the top car on new tires and fuel is still Christian Challenger, but Robert Nash has so far extended these runs longer than anybody else that we've seen. He rides in 7th, right behind Michael Chin. My guess, while we can't see the engine map that he's in, my guess is he's working the maps, maybe staying in 6th gear sometimes. It looks like he's in 5th here, but definitely working the fuel saving to make it that extra lap if possible and just have a little more insurance. Now, again, you don't really need that insurance in this race, but you have to make sure that you're good to lap 200 and to at least complete that lap. You don't want to run out of turn 4. As, whoa, big moment there. That is Chin in the wall. The car isn't quite as bad off as it looked initially, but that's going to be a pit stop here for the 622.
I would also pit after that one. That was big time snap. That wheel is not centered either, Andrew. That does not look good.
Let's go back and watch this. We'll get 2 views on it. First from this roll bar camera. And this will show the overall kind of view here as to what happened to this 622 car out in the Carolinas. Just missed turn 3. And he didn't do anything wrong. I think he just stayed in the gas too long. I think he needed a lift there maybe to make it around that corner, and it just didn't work out. He just got tight. But then the other view we want to get is going to be down at the driver's eye POV, or not quite the driver's eye. This is a little bit lower. This is the kind of the
chest cam.
Not the chest cam. It's like just below the visor on the helmet. And the result of this is going to be he smacks the wall really hard right here.
Just knocks the toe out completely on that race car.
And that is very likely the end of his top 10 run.
Now,
Matt Wagner comes down the pit lane here on lap 98. This is lap 30 for him. He's pitting a little bit early even now.
It just now hit me, Andrew, that there is the added potential that with Chin rolling through the access road after touching the grass, that he brought some dirt particles onto the access road, which could affect guys trying to make their pit stops. But I don't know. In the same instance, I think I'm kind of gasping at straws on that one. I don't think maybe he dragged too much, but it's something to think about regardless.
That might be a slight stretch because these guys shouldn't have to use too much of that area to pit, thankfully. It would be interesting one day to see them require drivers to use the access road to pit. That would be a little overkill, I feel like, as opposed to just let them pit off of turn 4, but
they kind of do use the access road to pit, just not the access road on entry.
Well, I mean on entry. If they had to use it around turns 3 and 4, that would be rather impressive. That would definitely take some extra effort, but we were just on board there with Christian Challenger as we work lap 100 of 200 here, which means we are right at halfway, and this time by, the halfway leader will be Ray Partridge. Leads at lap 100, mile 250, right at halfway. Let the entire field fly by here from the flag stand camera, and boy, does Barney have a view.
Boy, do I love speed shots.
And you know, Zach,
I do love them.
We covered the weather conditions early in this race, and look at that. I told you we might expect the track temp to go up a couple more degrees, and that was when it was 115, 114. Now it's 122 degrees. The air temp has come up a little bit, but 122-degree track temp is getting to be scorching. That is really, really warm, and it's partly cloudy skies. We're seeing a little bit of cloud cover now. That might bring that temp back down a little bit as Nick Kuhn will pit. But that is a really high track temp, and that could explain some of these guys having to lift a little more. That could explain why these guys are maybe even pitting a little bit earlier. In the case of Matt Wagner, you know, you want to get the tires on that extra lap or two earlier. and try to have a better run out of it. But it's interesting. Partridge and Steele here, they're extending their run a little bit more. You see the track temp come down to 121. This is now lap 32 for Steele, lap 31 for Partridge, and Steele, I think, he's continuing on even further. When will these guys pit?
I'm starting to wonder what fuel map they're in that they're able to save for so long.
They did have a caution in there. Let's not forget that. But even so, I did not expect them to go extra laps here because we know they've got to pit one more time than the guys who are on that alternate strategy and working the race in reverse. Partridge goes by one car. That's going to be a lap car. Who is that? That's Nick Kuhn, actually. And Partridge comes in. Here comes Steele as well.
Big closing on pit entry right there between those two cars. Really got super close together.
Now our eyes turn back to Christian Challoner, race leader now. He has got an advantage of some 1.7 seconds over Robert Nash, and that is not easy to do. He has really worked the traffic to his advantage, quite a ways ahead of that 96 car. There is one lap car between them. It's going to be, it looks like, Michael Chin. Of course, he had that moment in turn 3 just ahead of Robert Nash earlier. He has since rebounded. He did take a fast repair, of course, to get back on the racetrack as quickly as possible. And you know what we haven't yet seen much of? Do you want to take a guess at what I'm going to say?
Oh, surprise me.
Don't feel bad if you get it wrong.
I wouldn't even know where to start guessing, Andrew.
Well, so I noticed it from a camera like this. What I haven't seen much of is these guys bobbing and weaving, doing the IndyCar snake on the straightaways. We haven't we haven't seen that attack mode yet from this field. So what we'll see later on in this race will be these guys swerving on the straightaways, trying to break the draft and minimize the gains of the cars behind. We just haven't yet seen that as Hutchison comes into the pit lane now. That is lap 33 for Hutchison. He's really extended that run.
I was thinking about that earlier on in the race. I'll say the snake attack mode. That's something that was on my mind. Because I figured we'd see it on the first lap or so, but I guess not.
I want to give a big thank you to our partners here at Pit Stop TV, Whiplash SimCam, ZTVL, CC's Business, Cody Williams Design, Lucky Performance, and the North American Racing League. And you know, when we do these broadcasts for the Major Series, I also want to give a big nod, of course, to the Majors Garage, but also our other broadcast partners for the Major Series. Sim Speed, that covers the international region, and Global Sim Racing Channel, GSRC, that covers the European region. Now, I've not yet worked with Sim Speed, hopefully one day, but I've worked a little bit with GSRC, and those are some really good people over there. And if you missed those regions, those races, the Major Series runs different regions over the course of the race weekend. So every time they run a race weekend, they have 3 separate splits at least. An international race, a European race, and an Americas race. This is the Americas race that we're covering. But that gives these drivers different time slots to run, and some drivers will double and even triple dip to run all the different races over the course of the weekend. For the most part, they stick to their own region, so it fits their lives the best. But I like giving that nod to those other broadcast partners, because if you're tuning in to just this race, you might not know that there were 2 other races before this that ran for the Major Series this weekend. Again, those were on Sim Speed for the international race and GSRC for the European race. I didn't quite catch either one this weekend. I've been busy, a lot going on. But I want to give them a nod and just give them some appreciation here while we have a moment under this green flag run, because they do a lot of work just like we do to make these broadcasts as good as possible for you, the viewer, here for the Major Series. And they do some really good work. They cover a lot of different leagues and series over the course of their week. We just want to give them some appreciation to get that Sim Speed and GSRC. covering the other regions. And, you know, I mentioned there's 3 regions, 3 time slots for these races, Zach. There's also 3 splits for this America's race. Did you know that? 3 different splits. That means about 90 drivers signed up to run, and 1 car in the wall hard. That is Michael Chin again.
Oh, no.
And that is going to be the end of his run. He's going to have to come in and take significant repairs. You can see the right front is towed out. It's almost identical to what he did earlier.
I'm assuming he doesn't even have a fast repair either.
No, he took it already.
That looks a little worse than what it was earlier, actually. That looks a lot more bent in and towed out. That's definitely worse off.
Nearly an identical incident. And we'll watch this again. Watch his hands. And he's just going to get tight. Let's see, was there a bobble or anything leading into it? He's got open track ahead. The tires are just worn. He needed to lift, and he didn't. It's rough.
I was going to say, you got to wonder how he has gone about the same incident twice, in the same corner, no less. It's baffling. It's mind-boggling in some cases. So, I can't imagine that he's any happier about that. But we're past halfway, Andrew. And I think it's at least good to see that he made it past halfway. And one thing that I actually forgot to mention, believe it or not, because me being forgetful is nothing new here. But you mentioned that there's 3 splits for each division that goes on here in the major series. They've got an American division, they've got a European division, they've got one other division that I know is somewhere around here. It is on my broadcast document. And they've got an international division. And there are drivers that are running, in a sense, Ironman challenges. A couple of drivers that are running the triple Ironman. Ray Partridge and Wayne Hutchinson. And I can't imagine how these guys are even functioning at the moment.
Yeah, they did it for the 600, and I want to say Partridge and Hutchinson both did really well in the America's race there. Doing so again this week. They tend to run all of the races over the course of the race weekend each time these guys race, but in this case, they are, let's see, Hutchinson, as we watch Christian Debate come in and pit a little bit early here. It was actually Christian Challenger's coming in right on time. These guys are all having to pit right about now. And this is 3 laps to the good, Zach. So we'll focus on pit strategy for just a second. This is about 3 laps to the good on where they want to be to make it even runs to the end. So they'll have to pit again on lap 140 and again lap 170. So 2 stops to the end from here. And this is, again, this is almost perfect. 3 laps to the good, and everything else beyond this is just insurance. This is perfect timing for those guys. That caution came out at a really good time, and you know, a caution could come out at a terrible time, but so far, if this race goes green, this is lined up really well for these guys to just have a straight-up battle to the end.
You better knock on some wood for that one.
Oh no, I've said it before, I'm the bringer of chaos.
Oh boy. Well, we've got a number of cars on the pit lane right now that are all going laps down while they're taking their green flag cycle, so if the caution does come out, and I'm going to knock on wood because I don't like to bring chaos on occasion, this could very much affect a number of them as they're all going laps down. At the moment, we've got 18 out of our 32 cars that started this race on the lead lap. We've only got about 30 cars left in the race. Count at 29, since Michael Chin more than likely is done for the day. I believe he is still on the pit lane. Yes, he is. So, out of the 29 cars, we've got about 10 cars 1 lap down. So, if the caution does come out, we've got a little bit more, a few laps down actually. But if the caution comes out, it could seriously turn this field upside down.
Here's looking quickly at Brenton Foster. Just completed his pit stop as Robert Nash, Nathan Dowd, Brian Bennett, Lionel Callisto, and Eric Staropoli all pit here on lap 115. Brenton Foster, of course, was leading earlier when he crashed on his own out of turn number 2. He hit that bump on the inside of turn 2, right where I did so many years ago. Man, it's seared in my brain. Anytime Indy cars come here and we're covering it on Pit Stop TV, I know somebody's gonna hit it. Today it was Brenton. Unfortunate stuff, but he's still in this race. He's still on the lead lap, and he's gonna cycle out somewhere for right now around 14th position. But once those other cars that have to pit an extra time pit, he's working on a top 10 run, Zach. That's difficult to do when you crash early and put yourself in the back, even if you crash in the lead. It's difficult to come back from that. So props here to Brenton Foster on staying in this race and keeping the car in one piece, at least as close as you can, and continuing on, because once you face that kind of adversity and that embarrassment, honestly, crashing from the lead, it's very difficult to piece your race back together and stay in it. But again, he is shaping up to have a top 10 run.
Ooh, you didn't have to do the man like that, saying embarrassing.
Well, but it is. I mean, and that factors in. We saw a couple of those drivers early who crashed leave. Even when they had a fast repair in the bank, they'd be out of embarrassment. That's a fact of life, right? It's an emotion, and it's very human. Crash early, you're going to be a little bit embarrassed, because nobody wants to crash early and be one of the replays here on the broadcast. So I wouldn't blame anybody if they crash from the race lead as Robert Nash goes fastest here. I wouldn't blame anybody if you crash in the lead on just leading, because it sucks, man. That's terrible, right? So props to Brenton for staying in this race and continuing on when he really doesn't have to. Back up front, Matt Wagner now leads the race once again. He's 18, now 19 laps into his run as he flies by the speed shot right here. Partridge second, Steele third, Christian Challoner off the pit lane is fourth place. Although, Zach, these guys having pitted earlier and keeping better tires on their car and not running longer laps, it actually worked out a really big gap. Challoner is 6.5 seconds behind Wagner. Now, Wagner and company, the top three, they've got to pit again. They've got to pit one more time than Challoner does. But it's still worth covering, worth mentioning that those three out front have got a big lead.
What if they offset the fuel strategy, pit on 120, then again on 150, again on 180, have a 20-lap run to the end, have to put less fuel in the car, but have the fresher tires? As Daniel B. Johnson has just called out that he'll be pitting in this time by, still on the lead lap at the moment.
Well, and that might be something that Wagner is working on, because we've documented over the course of this race that he has been pitting a little bit earlier than Partridge and Steele. And last time through, it was a 5-lap difference between them. Wagner pitted 5 laps early. So he might be working on that kind of strategy, Zach. The problem that I run into there is if a caution comes out and you've already pitted, you're possibly trapping yourself a lap down when you don't need to be.
You run the risk of trapping yourself a lap down at any point in time, realistically speaking, when you're going down pit road under the green flag. There's always the added potential that something can happen on the racetrack, something can come awry. It's a necessary risk. It's, what's that word? That one saying that I remember from How to Train Your Dragon. Instead of Vikings, they're race car drivers. It's an occupational hazard. So I think you just have to take that into account whenever you really start to think about making changes to your strategy and where you think everything will fall into place as the race goes on. We've got 80 laps to go as they cross the flag stand right here. There is only about 2 pit stops left in this race, and you could break it up into differing sections in these last 80 laps depending on if there's cautions that come out. We could run this race straight green to the end, Andrew. I mean, there is so many different things that could potentially happen, and you're running through, as a driver, 5 to 6 different scenarios right now, maybe even more, on what could potentially happen and how you can adjust your strategy to compensate for that.
You mentioned 80 laps to go, 2 pit stops to go. That is exactly right. Everybody in this race has to make 2 more pit stops, I believe. It might be, 140, 170. It might actually be 3 for Wagner.
Yellow's out.
There it is. For Herbier.
Oh, no.
Trouble there at a turn. Number 2, Herbier will take the tow. And, oh, man, if you saw it right before the replay guy that came up, it was a very dramatically damaged number 5, 4, 6. Here he is, racing with 1 car right behind him. That is the 93 of Eric Staropoli. And for Herbier off of turn 2, he just gets the wall on his own, and oh my! Oh, what a vicious impact, and he is so lucky that nobody else hit him. Rather, they are lucky that they didn't hit him. That is, wow, we're going to need a few more replays of that.
He's going to have to take the toe, even though he does have a fast fix. That's going to put him laps down. He was competing right inside the top 20. Runs it wide.
It's the driver that has a class win earlier this season at Daytona, meaning he's in the top end of the standings. He's 6th coming into this race. This is a huge, huge blow.
That right there, I don't know who that was, but that car that just made it by, I am nominating him for Lucky Performance Lucky Break of the Day. Oh my goodness.
Fair enough. Let's watch it from the blimp and see if we can tell who that was.
Scooted by right there on the inside line. This is Laherbier right here. Rolling through 2. He just washes out of line a little bit more. He was up a little bit off of the groove. Comes back down. Wow!
Let's see if we can tell. It seemed like he was about 2 cars back. Maybe 3. Here it is. I think that was Lynn Kinchlow. So watch Kinchlow's onboard here out of the great state of Texas, where the NASCAR Cup race concluded a little while ago. I'm
sure you're happy who won that race.
I have no clue, but here we go. Across the racetrack, Herbier. Wow, Lynn! What a miss!
Oh my goodness. Lucky performance, lucky break of the day?
I'll agree. Let's watch this from the driver's eye POV, or at least a little lower anyways. Lynn Kinchlow's onboard through turns 1 and 2. And you might not even see it because of the nose of the car in the way, but you'll see Laherbier go down low and hit the inside wall right there.
Just watch that right side wheel.
Come back across the racetrack and then come back down. Wow.
Oh, boy.
Just in an instant, that car comes careening towards you, and Lynn goes right on by. That is impressive stuff. Lynn Kinchlow down to the pit lane now along with everybody else. Work back off the pits. But that is certainly a lucky performance, lucky break of the day. That could have been a whole lot worse. And while Lynn has already used a fast repair, so that's an extra lucky performance, lucky break of the day, Zach. That could have been his race.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know what's going through his head. If I was him, I would be jumping up and down as much as I possibly can in my 5-point harness and probably needing a change of pants.
Yeah, they call that code brown for a reason.
Oh my goodness.
Well, this gives us a new race order. Out front, Christian Challoner in that number 1. Robert Nash 2nd, Nathan Dowd 3rd, because these guys have all stayed out. Remember, they're on the right track right now to pit again at 140, then 170, and go to the end. The guys that needed to pit under this caution was everybody else who was on that alternate strategy. Or I guess what was the leading strategy, if you will, so we'll call it primary strategy. Matt Wagner, Ray Partridge, Mick Kuhn, Ryan Steele, those guys that have been pitting a little bit earlier than the other leaders. They will benefit from this caution, Zach, get this free pit stop under this yellow, and get reset with the leaders. And now everybody just has to pit 2 more times. This really, really saves their race.
You just got to think about everything that's been changed up from this race since the drop of the green flag. I mean, the running order is, in a way, completely swapped around from what we had seen early on in this race. You've still got guys that are laps down. You've got Jimbo Pfeiffer, who's 2 laps down now. He has not been able to recover his race after that early black flag and having to take that penalty from the avoidable contact. Daniel B. Johnson, he's trying to get himself back on the lead lap. He still has not been able to recover that lap, but he's sitting in the 25th position. He's gained positions from a lot of these guys getting taken out of this race, but he just hasn't been able to get back on the lead lap. You've got Banfield still on the lead lap as well. You've got McClure, who's been able to get back on the lead lap. He's chasing down the top 20. You've got Sebastian Jackson, Wayne Hutchinson. Those are guys who were running pretty good early on. Sebastian Jackson started inside the top 10, and he's trying to recover his race now as well. There's more to come, though, Andrew, and that pace car is going to take that hard left turn, and we are almost 3/4 of the way through this race.
75 laps to go, this time by Christian Challenger leads us into the restart zone, and we are once again racing in the Major Speedway 500, and already Robert Nash straight to the inside of Jimbo Pfeiffer.
There's one driver we talked about, Andrew, one of the guys who's been the most consistent overall this season, and now he's got a shot to go run down that race leader.
One on the wall. I think that was maybe Brian Bennett.
Got a lot of moves down the back straightaway.
Christian Abate over Brenton Foster. That was Staropoli on the inside of Foster, headed to turn 3. Ryan Steele and Nick Kuhn fighting.
Ooh.
Oh, Nick Kuhn to the inside. That was really close for a second. There's a lot going on.
There were a couple of cars that scraped the wall back there and really got some momentum sacrificed. As we take a look up further here, Nash closing in on Challenger. And looking down, he takes over 3rd position over Edwards, and he is going to luck out on a couple of spots here. Callisto falling backwards. Now he's got Bennett taking a look to the inside. They'll be side by side going into turn number 3. I think the run will be clear for that 71. Oh, tight racing through turn number 3.
And that car on the outside right now is Jimbo Pfeiffer, 1 lap down, trying to get back on the lead lap. 1 car to the pit lane with damage. It's Greg McEnany. He is out of this race. That's a lot of damage there for the 35 car. Let's see what happens.
You just saw him exit the car there.
He drove it back to the pit lane with damage. Here's the Fusion number 35 in the wall there in turn 3. And oh man, what Christian Abate could do earlier, McEnany tried. Simply couldn't. Got the wall on the outside of turn 3, slid through the corner, and found the inside wall there in turn 3 as well. Let's get one more view. On board the 35 car. And see if we can maybe hypothesize as to what went wrong. I'd imagine he just got tight and, yeah, I never made the corner. Carried that Firestone Firehawk dragging along all the way back to pit lane. But that was it for McEnany. He is out of this race. McSparron is due to pass him here soon. McSparron in the 22 car, 5 laps down. Chin is out of this race. McEnany is out of this race. They will join Homan and Fletcher at the bottom of the field. Out front, lap 129 now of 200. And it is led by Christian Challenger, Robert Nash, and Nathan Dowd. They are your top 3 ahead of Logan Edwards and Lionel Callisto. And 1 car is in the wall. It's Austin Peterson. He's being passed up by a slew of cars.
Yeah, I saw everybody snaking down the front straightaway. I was unsure what was going on. You see now Peterson moving to the bottom of the racetrack, kind of getting out of the way.
He's got problems.
Oh, yeah, he's got major problems. That car is out of control. Might have some potential damage that's got the car towed out because he is losing control through the corner. Wheel seems straight. I'm really questioning what is going on, but he is well off the pace. Might pull it down low here. Oh, he's staying on the racetrack. Is that rear wing bent, Andrew? Oh, he's spinning!
Whoa! Massive header to the outside wall for Andy Banfield. He's rolling down the racetrack. Andy Banfield pirouetting. He's not done yet. And finally, that car comes to rest, and he's going to drive it back to the pit lane. Unbelievable. Or at least he's going to attempt to, but he's not going to make it. That was huge.
If there was ever a time for perfectly cut screams, that would be the moment for it. Oh my goodness.
That was huge. That starts off with Peterson. I was going to call it out. Let's see if I can find the same camera we were on. Right here, Zach, I noticed the left side on our right, but on the car's left side, that wing is just kicked out a little bit. It does not look straight. So watch him go into the corner here. He's going to lose all grip. The rear just comes all the way around. And Banfield had nowhere to go. That is a vicious, vicious crash. I've not seen a car roll over like that here at Indianapolis in a while. iRacing or real.
I think back to Scott Dixon's wreck a few years back. Oh my goodness. But what caused him to have the damage on that left-hand side? We thought he grabbed the wall a little bit and, potentially got some right-side damage, but that's on the left-hand side of the car.
Ask and you shall receive. Let's see what happened here. He's on the outside. I think that's Starpoli maybe. Oh, Starpoli hits him, and he got the wall
Starpoli has
really
damage
good.
too. The right side, or the right side wing on the
he
front
lost
wing
the right
of that
half
car.
of the wing, yeah. So fast forward a bit. Let's move forward in the replay because there's pit stops happening. Move forward in the replay here to... Whoa! Oh my, there's so much to go through. Somebody hit the inside wall really hard in the background, and we'll look at that in a second. This is Peterson into turn 3. Banfield ramps off of that car. Boom! Outside wall, outside fence. And of course, Zach, as we have to do here, if somebody goes flipping, we have to get it on board. Let's do it.
Those with weak stomachs should prepare now. Oh my gosh.
He didn't stop flipping for a while. I really hope Banfield does not use a direct drive wheel or a motion sim, because that would be a rough ride. Now behind these guys, somebody took to the inside wall rather aggressively, and I think it may have been LaHerbier. Yes, look at that. Slide through turn 2.
Again.
And gets the inside wall. And the angle I saw initially, I thought he hit it a lot harder, but that was not so bad. Here's Banfield from another angle. Oh! Just incredible.
I wonder if they told that car that physics has been invented already. It's like it pivoted every single time it hit the ground. And while we've seen race cars do that when they flip, I think the iRacing.com sim has, well, maybe exacerbated physics a little bit.
Well, I mentioned pit stops were happening during that replay. We are now on the 1 to green lap. Ryan Bennett is the race leader, Zach, and he has taken the race lead by staying out under this caution as well as the previous yellow. So he is on some older tires now, but he is lining up to be good to the end. He knows he doesn't have to pit an extra time, but he wants to save this track position. The problem is he's going to have older tires and likely have to jump out of the gas a little more than these other guys, even though he'll be leading the race and have that clean air. So he leads. Matt Wagner now cycles through to second, with Nick Kuhn, Ryan Steele, and Wayne Hutchinson right behind. Ray Partridge at 6th. He stays out along with Sebastian Jackson and Richard McClure. The first car to take service under this caution will be Nathan Dowd. And Dowd will cycle out to 9th after his pit stop. Challenger to 10th, then Logan Edwards, Robert Nash, so on and so forth. So the leader has got 18 lap-old tires, then it's 9 lap-old tires from 2nd through 8th, and then Dowd on back has got clean, brand new tires, and is ready to go racing this final run to the end. Lap 133 will be in the books here. We'll continue on in the major Speedway 500 right here. Green flag is back out at Indianapolis. Bennett tight off of turn 1. Wagner looking for a way by. He goes way high there in turn 2, coming through the gears and flying onto the back straightaway.
Single file, though, down the back straightaway. No snaking that we have seen so far. And a move to the inside. It is a very quick, decisive move, and Wagner is going to take the race lead back and keep that car out in front. Clean air on the nose. It's what he's experienced most of the day, and he'll keep experiencing it so far as Bennett slots into the 2nd spot. We almost had a move on Nick Kuhn moving up to the 2nd spot, but looks like they'll single file out with Steele right behind them as well. Hutchinson, Partridge, Jackson, McClure now up inside the top 10, being a lap down most of the day. And then Dowd and Challoner rounding out your top 10. And I gotta ask you, Andrew, how many laps has Wagner led today?
Find out here in 2 different ways, but we'll do it this way. First, 69 laps, so a nice total there from Wagner so far. That's about half the race at this point. Wagner has led a long time today. This will complete lap 70 of his laps led. We can also, alternatively, look at the ticker here on the right side of the ticker. We go to laps led there. 70 now for Wagner, 3 for Bennett under that caution, just 1 for Hutchinson, 9 for Partridge, 19 for Challoner. And you can look at the rest of the field as they cycle through on the ticker, and it's just how many laps they've led. A lot of zeros there in the back end of the field, a lot of heartbreak for a lot of those guys. A lot of drivers now out of the race as attrition sets in. But Wagner, 70 laps led out of 136 completed. This time about to be actually 71 now. So he has led more than half this race. It's been a lot of car 616 out ahead as there is a battle behind with Partridge and Staropoli, or actually Partridge and Jackson rather. Jackson will relent. Partridge takes that spot back away. That was the 6th. And keep an eye on 9th and 10th right now. Dowd and Challoner. They're on those new tires. One to the wall. Beltrami, massive impact, and he's gone. He's gone, Zach. He's gone.
To the Shadow Realm with you. Oh my goodness.
2 massive impacts back to back. Caution is back out here in Indianapolis. Andy Banfield, 1 yellow. Bob Beltrami the next. And the Beltrami Salami machine has gone so far airborne. It's out of here. Watch this. Inside wall and gone. Now, of course, that's stretching a little bit of what would have happened. Those tire barriers, of course, you have to figure this is ones and zeros that makes iRacing happen, right? So there's some coefficient of rebounding off those tire barriers. And in this case, it sends the 14 skyward. Look at this. And iRacing has got a cap on how far away from the racetrack you can go before you get automatically sent back to pit lane. Because if not for that, Zach, this is the first time I can say this to Indy. That car would have been outside the fence.
Have you ever seen a car outside of the fence in Indianapolis? Have you ever seen a car go over the catch fence before since they started using them? I can't say I have.
Not here in Indy. I've seen some at Daytona go skyward like that, but not here in Indy. And he might have come back down directly into the fence. Otherwise, that car was out of the park. We'll watch it here one more time from the fan cam. We'll slow it down, gets the outside wall, and then, you know, a couple of years back, there was that wheel that went over the fence and hit somebody's car. This is a whole new extreme version of that.
With the angle that he hit at, I don't know if you remember that one year, I think it was maybe 2016, 2017, maybe 2018. I don't remember what year it was, but Brad Keselowski slammed that inside wall at such an angle with such a force. He got out of the car okay, though, ladies and gentlemen, and that's the great thing to see when it comes to modern safety advancements in racing, but it's just the way you hit that angle. Even though there's tires and somewhat of a safer barrier there, it's still a heavy impact.
That is, go straight to jail, do not pass go, do not collect $200. That is straight out of here for Bob Beltrami. That is incredible stuff. I've never seen a crash quite like that. I'd never seen a crash quite like that, the crash prior with Andy Banfield, but that's a whole new level of crazy there for Bob Beltrami, and he has made the highlight reel this afternoon. Well, we are now on lap 139 of 200, back under caution here. And if you're just joining us, thanks for doing so. We appreciate you. I see some drivers, let's see.
Some drivers did head to the pit lane.
Well, it looks like some guys, I mean, I see Shane Vickery and Wags now in the YouTube chat. Saying hello and chiming in for the first time today. But yes, some drivers did pit under this yellow. They will begin with Ryan Steele, back here now in the 14th position. Ryan Steele has pitted and taken service along with Brian Bennett, who had stayed out previously, and this is close for Brian Bennett. This is very close to serving as that extra pit stop that was needed to be made, because remember, this, we were looking at 140, Zach, lap 140, when these guys needed to pit. make it then to 170. But we're on lap 140 now. And I think we just took the 1 to green signal. We did. So this would be where you want to pit, but your last opportunity would have been right there. Huh. Gonna be close for a lot of guys.
We had a lot of guys take to the pit lane, and they're starting to upset their strategy a little bit.
We thought we had this race figured out, and go figure. It has changed.
What I tell you, strategies aplenty. They are a-changing. The times do be a-crazy. And the more things change, the more things stay the same. We've got 20 cars on the lead lap. The first one lap down will be Ross Banfield. Then Andy Banfield, Austin Peterson gets back out there. He's 20-30, he's a lap down. Daniel Johnson, Bob Beltrami is a lap down. Then Jimbo Pfeiffer's 2 down. Vincent LaHerbier is still out there. He's 3 laps down. JC McSparron has been staying consistent in this race. He's 15 laps down. And we're still rolling throughout the field. Wagner, Kuhn, Hutchinson, Partridge, Jackson, Dowd, Chalonier, Edwards, Nash, and Abate, your top 10. Foster Star Pulley, Coltley, Steele, and Bennett, your top 15. Andrew, that pace car is going to make that hard left turn on the pit road. And we've got 60 laps to go at the flag.
And you saw Beltrami there. He's back in the race, albeit, as you said, 1 lap down in 25th. Into the restart zone. We are back racing, 60 to go in the Majors Speedway 500, the 13th running thereof. Matt Wagner leads. Paul Martin chimes in the YouTube chat. We appreciate you tuning in, Paul. Good to see you back in the YouTube chat this evening. An incredible race so far here in the Majors Speedway 500, and things are just getting started. Nose to tail, Wagner and Kuhn, your race leaders at the turn 3 that time by. 60 to go the last time by. 9 this next time.
Just ticking ever so closer to the end of this race, Andrew, and the aggression level is something we have not talked about very much throughout this race. The snaking being one of it, the drivers not making bold or daring or aggressive moves. It's been very patient, very conservative racing throughout this night, and you know, we've got almost 3/4 of this race finished now, so there's not a lot of time left to be making these moves. I say that, here we go. We've got to move to the inside. Sebastian Jackson.
And he'll pass Ray Partridge, one of those drivers running multiple splits this weekend. Partridge slides back into 5th position now and has that new traffic ahead. They funnel off at turn number 4. Mostly single file. There is one side-by-side. I see Ryan Steele, I think that is. Stagger to the inside of Jimbo Pfeiffer. Pfeiffer a lap down along with, let's see, Pfeiffer's now 2 laps down. He rides in 26th position. That race has gone from recovery drive to sour very quickly. One on the wall, Brian Bennett. He smacked the outside wall really hard, and let's see, does that car have damage? Maybe.
Like it. See how he rolls into the corner.
We didn't think so for Peterson earlier, but Peterson had that wing off kilter. Looks like Bennett's okay.
How's that front wing look, though, Andrew? It looks pretty sturdy.
I'm very surprised he's not worse for wear. Up ahead of him, Lyle Callisto moves to the inside of, I think that's Jimbo Pfeiffer who's just passed. And it is. Callisto runs in 15th, Bennett runs in 16th. A couple of mainstays here, both from Sector 5. And there goes,
down the bottom.
There goes a move from a lap car, actually. And Kinchlow is going to benefit from that. I think that was Johnson that just moved to the inside of Bennett. And Kinchlow is going to move down low. I think we could agree Kinchlow is today's recipient of that lucky performance, lucky break of the day. So it's good to see Lynn back in this race, moving forward, although Bryce Roberts now goes by on the outside. But Lynn doing what he can to get back up on the wheel and move forward. Running an 18th right now.
And I will say, too, I think after that miss, I feel like that gives him some sort of qualification for driver of the day. I don't want to start speaking on it just yet, but I don't know. I feel like with heads-up moves like that, that would give you a solid nomination for driver of the day.
Well, we're about to talk about it here, another 10 laps or so. I think once we get past 150, get to the final quarter, we can really light that conversation up. But somebody I still have my eye on is this guy. Car number 11 in position 11 right now, out of Ohio, Brenton Foster. He led those laps early in this race, crashed from the race lead. And that might not sound like driver of the day material, but I challenge you to think about the fact that he had to come back from that and is on the verge of a top 10 run. He's been as low as 22nd position after that crash, has fought back through to 11th here. He's been working on it as the day goes on and is not far out of the top 10. I mean, literally one spot out of the top 10 right now and could still win this race.
I still think it's anybody's race, Andrew. I think anybody, as long as you're on the lead lap right now, still has an absolutely amazing shot at winning this race. And, you know, the lead is about as close as it's been all day. Nick Kuhn is within about 4/10 of Wagner at the moment. You see the separation amongst the drivers in the top 10 rolling down the back straightaway. The top two have broken away, and then it's Hutchinson and Jackson close together, and then a bit more separation down to Partridge and Dowd. Chalonier, Edwards, Nash, and Bates still rolling inside the top 10, and you know, I've said it already, I'll say it again, Dowd and Nash, they are staying consistent. They've been inside the top 10 all day. Those two are still contenders for winning this race as well.
Yeah, I guess we can continue that driver of the day conversation because it is relevant. Wagner has been that guy. I mean, he's led over half this race so far as we work closer to lap 150 and 3/4 distance. He has led so much of this race. In fact, now 82 laps out of 147. That's impressive. Kuhn has been there for most of the way with him. But you mentioned Dowd, Challoner, Nash. Those are the other three really that have really been up front, been conversation pieces all day long. And I think I could pick easily Wagner and Challoner based on laps let alone. They've been out front a lot. They've been making moves. They have controlled this race, it's felt like, handed it back and forth on pit strategy. But then who do you fill in the gaps with? Because we can only take 4 for the vote. So if you had to speculate as to who we'll select in another 10, 20 laps or so, I think those two are on it, Wagner and Challoner, but then who else?
You're going to have to let me think on that one, honestly. There's been a lot of good drivers throughout the course of this race.
Well, as we watch on here from the fan cam, this is a series of unique perspectives around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, ones that you could see from your seats here in Indianapolis in the month of May later on. That's a really good shot there, watching the entire backstretch as they funnel off of turn 2 and head down to turn number 3. And this is now lap 150, Zach, so this time by will be 3/4 distance. We are into the final quarter now. Once we pass the start-finish line, we'll be coming out, ending the 3rd quarter, moving into the 4th quarter if this was a football game. Which means this is crunch time. If you are not up front, you need to be. I know you've had all race long to position yourself and work on strategy and try to just find your way to the front, but there's no more excuses. You've got to move forward. You've got to get up on the wheel. Crank that weight jacker if you need to. Make some spots up.
I'll be honest, Andrew, I don't touch the weight jacker. I very much leave it alone. It's something that is still very new to me. I know it's been around for a while.
There we go, Wagner to the pit lane.
It's now underway. It's been around for a while, Andrew. It's something that I've learned more about, but you know, most of the time when I touch it, I tend to make mistakes more often. It's a big swing on the car, and it really changes the stability on it. And I genuinely try to make sure if I'm going to touch it, I absolutely have to touch it.
28 laps this run for Wagner. He comes in and takes service. This puts Kuhn out ahead of the race lead now. For the first time all race long. It's just so curious to me that Wagner's been pitting early. I think you'd want to wait on a caution, especially the way they've been following lately. But again, Wagner comes in a little bit early. Top 28 of the run. These guys can go a little bit further, probably to 155, 160. Somewhere in that range, these guys that have stayed out. The guys that pitted under that last yellow, Callisto on back, they are looking for lap 170. So right now the leaders, the whole top 10 has got 2 stops to make, and it's that group that pitted on that last caution. They're looking to have 1 stop left to go. That's their hope anyway, as Foster's got company. Staropoli on the inside. This is a battle now for a 10th spot. That quickly fizzles out. Staropoli will fall back.
As you see him tip that bump right there, out of 4, kind of wash up a little bit.
What I am seeing right now is Callisto to the inside of Damian Colty. Somebody we have hardly seen this race. The 34 car has been very quiet. Let's see, started 29th position. And that's something we have to figure in the driver of the day conversation as well, is how many spots these drivers have made up through this race, because that is oh so difficult in this style of event. Staropoli is back on the inside of Brenton Foster to turn 3. This is again for 10th spot. They stay in lockstep formation through turn 3, now turn 4. And Staropoli's got the advantage, and he will clear for now. Foster back to the inside. He's got to run, and he's there. Staropoli has to go outside, and he'll hang on to the spot, though, Staropoli. Ooh. A bit of the wall there, maybe from Foster. The only other battle on the racetrack that I'm seeing right now is McClure and Kinchlow. They're on that better strategy right now to go a little bit deeper in the run and make it lap 170. They're biding their time in 16th and 17th. Kinchlow ahead, McClure behind. That is the closest fight on the racetrack currently, and that is for 16th position. We've talked all day about drivers 1 lap down and trying to get back in this race. Of course, they don't have lucky dogs. You've got to find yourself in just the right spot to get a waiver out at the time of a caution. Well, Ross Banfield is the first car trapped 1 lap down. He is in 21st. Austin Peterson runs 22nd. Daniel B. Johnson runs 23rd. Andy Banfield, after his flip, many flips between turns 3 and 4, runs in 24th spot. And Bob Beltrami, also 1 lap down, runs in 25th. Jimbo Pfeiffer runs in 26th, 2 laps down. There he is. And finally, the final car running, Zach, 27th position. Jason McSparrow, in it for the long haul. Putting that attrition to good use, he is 27th spot, 5 laps behind the leader. Started 21st, so he's at a net gain, admittedly. I think that's maybe why he's still in a race. He started 31st, he's in 27th. And he's looking to gain some more if the drivers fall out of the race.
You want to talk about the long haul, Andrew? Ray Partridge and Wayne Hutchinson, they've done all 3 splits because of the triple Ironman? Does that mean that that means they've done all 3 of the splits for the major series this weekend? And what is that, 1,500 miles?
That would be if they can complete them all.
That's a lot of racing. A lot of racing.
Now, I'm going to quickly explore where they finished. So if we go over to the Global Sim Racing channel and take a look at today's broadcast for the European split, I'll search for their results screen and see where they finished in that race. Partridge finished 12th as Jesper Eriksson went to victory lane. Wayne Hutchinson put it on podium, Zach, in the European race. I'm going to go look for SimSpeed and see where they finished in the international region, but that in and of itself is already impressive. Looking at the international region quickly. Let's see. Lucas
Prada stuck into the pit lane as well.
Lucas Prada won the international race. And it looks like neither of those 2 drivers went top 10 He finished further down the order. It looks like Hutchinson finished 26th in the international race, and Ray Partridge finished dead last in 33rd.
Well, I think Hutchinson is in the best position to win this race that he's been probably the whole weekend when it comes to the major series. Sebastian Jackson off the jack. He's rolling out of the pit lane now.
Partridge there as well.
Yeah. But Hutchinson's still running in the second spot.
Here we go. Everybody coming in, lap 160. This is 10 laps earlier than where they want to be. They've got to pit one more time even after this stop. That was the danger of staying out on those previous cautions. This includes Wayne Hutchinson in the pit lane here. That is an agonizing feeling, Zach, when you're stuck on the jacks and cars are ripping past you, and you know you have not played the game quite right for pit strategy here. You know you've got to pit even one more time, and those guys will pit one more time and they'll be good to the end. I mean, this is agonizing if you're Hutchinson, Kuhn, and everybody else pitting right now.
Yeah. We've got 40 laps to go. I would assume that everyone should be able to make it to the end here. Maybe you have to save about a lap or two, though. Depending on when you pit, actually. Oh.
No. That's what I was just saying.
Now.
These guys that just pitted, they've got to pit one more time still.
I was about to say.
Continuing on, lap 162 here, and the top four are packed up. Challoner chasing Dowd, then you've got Edwards and Nash in tow. These guys are all together, and they are on that good strategy to the end. They've just got to pit one more time around lap 170, and they can make it to the end on fuel. Question is, if we get any cautions inside of that, do you come back in for tires, or do you hold on to that track position? We'll find out when we get there. Ooh, these guys are really close. I would not want to be in this close of a train this late in the race.
Fuel map 6, ladies and gentlemen. Fuel map 6. Or 8, actually.
Christian Abate has driven back into the top 5 here. If this race stays green, he's due to finish in the top 5 where he runs right now. And go back to that early lucky spin for him. I say lucky. It was a lucky save, right? He got loose out of turn 3, saved it, kept on moving. He did fall down to 23rd spot, admittedly. But to keep that car pointed the right direction was incredibly important. And completely saved his race. It could have been over in an instant. But Christian Abate has kept the car in the race. He still has that fast repair in the bank. And he's not the only driver here that's on that kind of saving recovery drive. Look 2 cars back. It's that car that's talking about all day long. Renton Foster. 18 laps led, crashed out of the lead, and oh, he's got the wall there. Oh, man.
You gotta stop talking about that man getting involved in things.
I guess. There were sparks thrown from that one and everything. But he is on this strategy to go to the end. If he can just stretch out a couple more laps, it's going to be close. You guys are going to be really close. Closer than I thought. They're at lap 34 now as they cross the stripe. And they need to get to lap 170. This is going to be incredibly close.
Got one car in the grass. Got a couple of cars calling out. One on the back stretch. I just saw it. There it is.
That's Richard McClure.
That's some damage on the race car.
Yeah, he's got big time right side damage, it looks like.
He was doing so well. He was up in the top 10. He had great runs. He was just getting back on the lead lap. That sucks to see for that 33 car. No caution though, we'll stay in the green. He's got that car off the racing surface and he's taking it to the security of the pit lane. I had the driver radio playing in my ear and I heard someone off of the camera running through the grass and someone called it out, so it was insane to hear about, but sucks to see for him.
These top
it's been a rough day.
These top four have now spread out. Night and day difference. They were packed together 5 laps ago, and now they are spread way out, and I think they've come to realize they've got to save just a little bit of gas here. They're on lap 168. They are so close to being good at the end. Now, this means Callisto and company are A-okay, and they can push. Callisto, Steele, Roberts, Kinchlow, Swaby, Bennett. Good to the end. These guys have to save a little bit. They should be good here. You can make it about 30 laps on the tank. If it goes completely green, they were 2 laps away from doing that. Here they come to the pit lane. At least here comes Dowd, who's been leading along with Edwards. Challoner and Nash stay out. That is huge. They're going 1 lap further. That puts them just on the edge.
That was a hard duck in by Edwards. I feel like that was a late call right there to stay with the leader. And no black flags, no speeding penalties or anything for any of those drivers. And, you know, I called it earlier, Andrew, and if you don't pick him for driver of the day as one of your nominations, I will. But Dowd is in contention for this win. Him and Nash have just been so consistent. Now Nash is up into second under this green flag cycle. We've got 30 laps to go and a couple laps here. Challoner, Dowd, Nash, these guys have just been so consistent all race long. Dowd and Nash obviously consistent throughout the season.
Money lap right here. Sorry to just interject. I've been waiting for it. That from Challoner and Nash is everything they needed. A bait comes in early. Challoner and Nash are going to 170, and this is exactly where they need to be to go to the end. I'm sorry, I just ruined your whole train of thought. I really do apologize.
No. But I mean, like, it's the same. It plays into what I was talking about because these guys have been consistent. They're working their strategy into what they need it for. Now comes the race off pit road, though. This is what we're going to see because Challoner's going to come in and he's going to top off. So is Nash, and they have to beat out Dowd. They have to stay in this. Here they come in the pit lane. Where is Dowd on the racetrack right now, Andrew? Because that is the guy they are racing off of the pit lane.
There you see the top 3, Challoner, Nash, and Foster all come in. Let's go down the order here. What they're racing right now is Wagner, even though they've got a pit again. So that's for the race lead. There's Wagner in turn 4. If you look a little further down there, and Dowd is down the backstretch. He's into turn 3 now. So turn 3 for Dowd. Nash is in the box now. Challoner should release a little bit sooner. And this is the money stop for these guys. This is exactly where they needed a pit. This is perfectly done by these drivers. They don't have to hold themselves back now. They're good to the end. Challoner rolls off. Where is Dowd? Here he comes through turn 1. Dowd's going to beat them out.
It's a very close one. Yeah, there he goes, rolling on by. He'll stay in camera shot here off the rear end. But, you know, you just said it. They're racing Wagner, too. I don't think they're racing Wagner. Wagner has another stop now.
Correct. That's the trouble for Wagner. And, well, let's see. Kinchlow comes in. Wagner's run 20 laps along with Kuhn, Hutchinson, Sebastian Jackson, and Ray Partridge. They are all hoping for a caution. And if they get a caution, that would completely change things.
Well, the benefit, you see, this is the first time we've seen snaking all race long. See Wagner snaking to catch the draft of a lap car. This is one thing that I just thought about. Wagner has a bit of an advantage now because he is, oh my goodness, what's the difference between Wagner and what would be Dowd at the moment? Dowd is currently sitting in the 11th spot. Wagner is in 6th. They're separated by about 15 seconds.
Yep.
It's not enough to justify a pit stop because he would need like an extra 30 seconds to justify it. But he can go in and take less fuel now that he is within the fuel number window. He can go in, doesn't need to top off. He could just take enough fuel to make it to the end of the race, and he could just call it a day. He wouldn't have to take as long in the box.
Here's Lionel Callisto, race leader, into the pit lane. He was the leading charge of those drivers that had pitted on that last caution. And he runs 34 laps here, so he extended that run as far as he could. to have the best tires he can possibly have to the end, and I like that. Boy, do I like that. That is a huge call for Callisto to just go a little bit further. He'll turn the race lead back over to Matt Wagner, who leads now through turn number 2. Trouble is, Wagner's got to pit one more time unless a caution comes out just in time, and it's got to happen in these next 7 laps or so where Wagner's got to pit one more time. Now, while that happens and transpires in the background, Zach, we're inside of 30 to go, nearly to 25 to go. It's time. It is time for the NARL Driver of the Day conversation and vote. Got it queued up on YouTube, ready to go. We'll make our selections, and Zach, I've got to give you the floor here first.
I'm going to go with Nathan Dowd for my first pick. He has been one of the most solid, most consistent drivers all season, and it reflects today. It reflects and shows the consistency that he has had all season long so far. This is only 5 races into the 12 of the season, but even then, we're almost to the halfway point of the season. He has just shown that consistency that is needed from these race car drivers, and I would pick him for my first pick driver of the day. Second pick, though, oh, that's going to be a tough one, because I feel like I know who you're going to pick, and I'm going to save those ones for you. I'm going to go with... Oh, man. I think I'm going to go with Staropoli. Staropoli's been a solid driver most of the day. He was a little further down the right. Oh, no.
Right ahead of these guys, too, and it's going to be... Who is that slow? It's Ross Banfield.
This changes everything.
It does.
It changes the whole race.
This saves Matt Wagner and company. Now, I'll quickly go through my nominations for Driver of the Day. It will be the 616 of Matt Wagner. He's just led so many laps, and this caution now saves his strategy. I will also go ahead and nominate the number 1 car, Christian Challoner. Hard to pass him up. He's also led a bunch of laps, and he's positioned himself very well. So that vote will go live here on YouTube. Make sure to participate. Maybe let us know in the comment section who you feel is today's Driver of the Day, or maybe who we missed for Driver of the Day conversation. But here's Banfield trying to get back around the racetrack, and he will, it looks like, just be able to do so. He is 1 lap down, so this is a little bit out of the ordinary as far as drivers in contention for the win, but he will come back around and make another lap and get to the pit lane. Let's see what happened to him. Low for the back. You saw a preview there, right? He got a little free, but let's truly see what happened to the 777.
Yeah, a little tease right there. See him dipping below that white line.
Watch the curb. Right there. He got the grass.
He put that car down there a little too far and overcorrected it back into the wall. That's a heavy impact right there.
That is so beyond easy to do when you've run for 2.5 hours like these guys have. That is...
Has it really been 2.5 hours?
We've been live for 2 hours and 39 minutes here, about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So...
Race leader has been... from the race has gone green, it has been 2 hours and 21 minutes.
There you go. It's easy to do when you've made it this many times around the Speedway. This long of a race, it's very easy to have that quick lapse in concentration or focus and just go a little too far down the racetrack and catch that curbing. But this hands the race right back into the hands of Christian Challoner, Nathan Dowd, and others. This means Wagner's got to pit and come back through traffic. There he is off the pit lane, Zach. He will exit into 15th position. So while he's led so many laps today, there you see 89 laps led. It's kind of covered by the IndyCar logo, but 89 laps led, more than anybody else, right around half the race. I think exactly half the race right now. He's going to come back to the field, and that's not easy to do. He's got to make up 14 spots to win this race, and that is difficult.
That it is. It's tall order. And
You know, at Charlotte, we saw a fan favorite, well, maybe not fan favorite, but broadcaster favorite paint scheme. Do you recall Robert Northway's paint scheme?
The Bluey car.
The Bluey car. And I'm I'm relatively familiar with the show, Bluey.
I'm not.
Well, I've got a 2-year-old who loves the show. And in one of the episodes, one of the main characters, Bingo, says...
That's the younger one, right?
Right, the younger of the 2 siblings, makes up a word, difficult. Tricky and difficult. And I'm going to use it here to amplify just how difficult, in this case, it is going to be for Matt Wagner to go from 15th spot to the race win in these remaining 21 laps. He's got to go through... remember, there's 3 splits, 90 drivers or so signed up for this race. He's got to go through 14 of the best IndyCar drivers in the major series to win this race now, unless there is some massive caution with the race leaders that takes a few out and he's able to miss it. If this thing goes green, 21 laps, he's got to go through 14 of them. Now I'm going to use, again, that word, difficult, because it is... that is a tall order.
Well, it's going to be a difficult 20 laps, to say the least. See Wagner down in that 14th spot. He's had a car that can cut through the field, though. You know, I think it's going to be a tall order, but if there was one driver to do it, it's definitely this man. And with how single file we are now, I would assume that these guys are getting ready to turn back loose in a moment's time here. We've got 19 cars still on the lead lap, Andrew. We've got a race ahead of us still. It's a race within a race, really. And I think these guys are willing to put on a good show for us. Hey, maybe we'll finally start seeing that aggression come out in these last 20 laps here. 21 to go when we take the green flag.
You see the onboard from Wagner, just how many cars he's got to pass. He's way back there in 14th spot. 21 laps to go this time by. Into that restart zone one more time. We are racing once again in the Speedway 500. 21 laps to go. Look at Dowd protect that bottom lane. Edwards, though, goes around the outside. Logan Edwards making his name known. Second place as they work into turn number 3.
Still single file, though. No snaking, no defending through the draft. But the side-by-side fights are still all apparent throughout the field. You see them going single file through 3 and 4. Through the short chute and onto the front straightaway. It's going to be 20 laps to go here on Pit Stop TV in the Speedway 500 for the Major Series. Challenger leads. Edwards, Dowd, Nashtar, Pulley, Abate, Callisto, Foster, Steele, and... oh my goodness, I'm going to mispronounce his name again.
Kinchlow.
Thank you. Kinchlow.
Kinchlow making it into the top 10 here in that time of the front stretch. I saw it for the first time. Zach, we had the snake going on. It a little bit there on the back straightaway, not much. As one car is slow, it's Wayne Hutchinson off of turn 2. Hutchinson pulling the triple along with Partridge. Finished 3rd in that European race. Was in a good position here in the Americas race, now down to 18th spot, right behind Partridge. Here we go, Logan Edwards to the inside, and he will pass Christian Challenger into turn 1. That is a huge move for the race leader on lap 182.
Ooh. That was really, really tight right there. Almost didn't fully clear for the race lead. Now Edwards fully clear out in front by about 2 to 3 car lengths over Challenger. See him moving around back there throughout the top 10. One move to the inside.
That was Callisto looking to the inside of Abate. There they are. Abate hangs on to the spot. Callisto wants it. That's for 6th.
18 laps to go. You talked about Wagner trying to move up through the field. He's only gained 2 spots so far since we've gone back green flag racing. He's up to the 12th spot. The fight for the lead keeps going, though. Might see a crossover right here. It's just going offset, getting off that line, Andrew. That's what we talked about early on, to find some clean air, potentially find a way around these guys. And they don't want to see any more caution laps, because this race will not have a green-white checkered, and they want to finish this race under the green flag. I'm sure that as we get within about 5 laps to go, that number 1 car is going to say the caution come out all at once, because the win is all but confirmed for him at that point. But I think a lot of these guys want to see this race finish under the green flag.
Well, and this is This is the time where the winning move will be made if this race goes green. There we go. Edwards back down low. They're going to trade this lead over and over and pull the leapfrog and get away from Dowd and Nash. And this is important, again, because these guys are wearing these tires out. And even if we get a caution in the next 10 laps, I doubt they come back to the pit lane. If they do, they're losing all that track position. They've got to hope everybody pits with them, and that's unlikely. So that was likely their last time pitting some 15, 13 laps ago. This is likely the set of tires they've got at the end of the race. This is when those moves will be made. They feel like Superman right now. They can make those moves. They've got grip. But as this run wears on, they're going to lose that grip. The moves will become fewer and further between. It's going to be harder to get the runs. So Challenger back to the race lead here on lap 185. One of these moves, one of these times will be the final one they make and could be the winning move here in the Speedway 500.
Let's talk about winning moves. They've closed back up to Dowd. Dowd is closing back in on these guys. He closed up to about 7/10 going into turn number 1 and lost it through the short chute into turn number 2. But you can see that he is still within drafting distance of these cars up in front. He's got the potential to get that car back up to the front and be in contention for this win. He's got Nash right behind him, Starapoli close behind as well. There is added potential for these guys to get back up there to the race leaders, especially when they're battling into turn number 1 side by side. They're not drafting, they're not breaking the toe. That just lets these guys close in all the more. And with how much they keep trading positions, I think they'll close back in and make this a 3, 4, even 5 car race for the lead.
At the same time, this is actually going to help them hold their lead because they're taking that run and going past. So it's hard to explain, but this is a really good defense maneuver from these top two to try and hold Dowd at bay. We'll see if it works out as Edwards pulls a bit of a gap here on Challenger, and down the front stretch they go. Here's everybody funneling back onto the front straightaway. 14 laps to go. Challenger has the run. He takes the lead back away to turn 1.
Back to the inside, the gap closing now again, back to third. Dowd getting more of a toe off of the second place car, and it seems like they are just going through a routine at this point, trading lap after lap after lap in turn number 1. Edwards now falling a little bit further back, about 3 car lengths behind. He's going to close in some more down into turn number 3. They don't have to worry about fuel, they don't have to worry about tires, it's all push mode number 1.
And here goes Wagner for 11th spot. He'll pass Brian Bennett. Nearly back to the top 10. A little tight there in turn 3, but he has the spot completed. He'll move ahead to 11th position, 1 spot now out of the top 10. He's got to be hoping for a caution to bunch this field back up. And that time,
do him much good though.
That time was the first time Edwards was not able to draft back past Challenger. That could have been it, Zach. I said there would be a point where the final move was made. That might have been it right there.
There's the snaking. They're finally starting to get aggressive, trying to break the toe. It's getting towards the end of the race where Challenger knows that he needs to start building that gap. He's got almost half a second. Now it's up to 5/10, so half a second between them. Half a second again back to Dowd. Dowd is only 1.2 seconds behind the leader, but he's closer to Edwards to keep that toe, and he might just be able to stay with it. We've got 12 laps to go as they cross the line.
Here you see the snake in the background going down low, going back up for the arc into the corner. 12 laps to go. Edwards now 5/10 of a second, a half second back of Christian Challenger. And it's smooth sailing for your race leader. He's out ahead. He can just do the snake and hold on to this spot. It's going to take a lot out of Edwards to get back up there. It is very hard to make that time back up once you've lost it. Again, at some point there would be that final move, and we've found it. It was Challenger going back ahead of Edwards some 3 laps ago now. It's going to be extremely difficult to get back up there.
You just got to wonder when the moment comes that Challenger knows he's going to be able to continue to hang on for this. Still half a second separated. You just see how much they're spreading out now. I mean, unless you've got some nitrous on that car, I wouldn't expect to be passing anybody anytime soon. They're all incredibly spread out throughout the field. Even just Wagner trying to get back up inside the top 10. We talked about him restarting down in the 14th position. It's 10 to go with the line, Andrew. There's not a lot of time left for anybody to be making moves at this point, especially with how spread they're getting.
10 laps remaining. Challenger leads. There's Wagner. He's down still in 11th position right behind Lynn Kinchlow. He's actually got to go through a lap car to even get to Kitchlow. As Kitchlow goes wide there at turn 1, that lap car ahead, I think, is Johnson. And it is. It's Daniel B. Johnson, who rides in 20th spot behind Austin Peterson. Peterson's ahead of Kinchlow. So the waters are murky back here. Everybody just trying to get what they can at the very end of this race. There's Sebastian Jackson to the inside of Brian Bennett. That's for 11th position. 12th, rather. Pass not complete. He couldn't quite get there. Swaby and Partridge race. Partridge takes that spot away. Swaby drops to 16th. So everybody finding their position here late in this race. Inside of 10 to go. Challenger leads by 0.6, and that gap is growing.
Know what to do. How to run the rest of your race, Andrew. Challenger has been in contention all race long. You have sung his praises all day long, and with 8 laps to go, he is just trying to keep that car out in front, build that gap, and hang on to these guys behind. Edwards rolling in second. It's down Nash. Star Pulley. He's been one driver that's come through the field, Andrew. You got to think about it. Star Pulley started 19th. Logan Edwards, though, he started 21st, and he's in that second spot. He was contending for the lead. There's a lot of guys sitting inside the top 10 that came from a little bit further back. Star Pulley started 19th. You've got Ryan Steele, who started 13th. You've got Lane Kinchlow, who started 20th and is up into the 10th spot. I mean, there is absolutely amazing hard chargers throughout the field. Damian Coltley, excuse me, in the 34, he's up from 29th into 14th. There's a lot of good guys throughout the field that have gained a lot of spots.
Yeah, if you look at the right side of the ticker right now, the position gained is up. That stat line is up. Challenger up 9, Edwards up 19, Star-Pulley up 14. Steele even is up 5 spots, and Kinchlow up 10. I mean, those are really impressive gains, especially to be in the top 10 amidst the greatest competition in IndyCar racing in the major series. This is really big stuff for a lot of those drivers. Edwards is maybe the biggest highlight in the top 10 right now, up 19 positions. Mr. Where did he come from in this one? Didn't really see him at all in the opening portions of this race. He just quietly moved his way up and got into the top 10 and has now led 3 laps by virtue of passing Challenger late in this race. But the time ran out. The tires ran out. And at this point, Zach, we're just about to the point of no return. He's facing second place, and there's really not much you can do about it.
It's a gut-wrenching feeling to know that you have put in so much hard work, so much effort to keep yourself in contention, keep yourself in the news and in the talk for the win. And, you know, they always say second's the first loser, but even so, it's an outstanding performance to finish second in the Speedway Motorsports 500. Not Speedway Motorsports, the Speedway 500. I had like 3 different things on that I was trying to say at that time. But finishing second is still an amazing accomplishment on the day.
The question now is, do we get a caution? This is about the last lap that it could happen for us to get a restart. We are facing, as I said, that point of no return. Can Christian Challenger get back around to the stripe and complete getting to that point to put this race to bed? I mean, the only thing he'd have to do from here is not crash. That's all he's got to do now. Simply keep the car on the racetrack. Do not crash. Do not give up time. Here we go. 4 laps to go. I don't think we can get a caution and get this race restarted now. I'm pretty sure this is the point of no return. If we get a yellow, the race would be over. Certainly, when we come back around, it will be. When we get 3 to go, we are certainly at that point. And Christian Challenger leads, although that time, Zach, Edwards made up a ton of time, about 2/10 in that straightaway alone.
You never know what you got left in the tank until you go out there and try to make use of what you got.
There's the gap, 3 laps to go. Edwards hoping for no caution here. He's got a second and change back to Dowd. There's no worries there. It is mano-a-mano these last 3 laps at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Edwards is closing in, but can he keep this up? He lost time there in turn 2.
looking on. Trying to make it work. Half a second in between the two of them. But he's running out of time, Andrew. It's popsicle sticks in the air. The gap continues to close.
Next time around will be the white flag for Christian Challenger. That's the rag he wants to see at this point in time, but Edwards keeps closing in. He's saved his stuff. He's calculated for this final push to the race win. If he could just get there, that time across the line, they were about 3 tenths apart. Through 1 and 2, he lost those 2 tenths, back down to a half second. He'll come around here and face the white flag this next time by, knowing his hands are tied.
Out of time and out of laps, Andrew. Third turn, number 4. Half a tenth between them, but it's the white flag in the air, presented by Whiplash Sim Cams. It's one more time around the famous Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Edwards doing all he can to chase down Challenger to take away this win. It's 200 laps, 500 miles of racing. It all comes down to 2.5 miles after what was really 497.5 miles. 2.5 to go into the short chute. Half a second in between, Andrew. I don't think he's going to be able to get there.
Out of turn number 4, the first car to cross the yard of bricks on lap 200 is car number 1. Christian Challenger goes to victory lane in the Speedway 500 in the Major Series in 2025. The 13th running is no bad luck to Christian Challenger. Congratulations, driver number 1. He will win at the yard of bricks.
What an outstanding performance. An incredible job.
Wayne Hutchinson crosses the line here in just a moment to be the final car to the stripe. There he goes, 17th position. Christian Challenger gets it done, though, out ahead of the entire field. About a half second between himself and Edwards when it's all said and done. Edwards had a great surge late, just couldn't quite get there. It's so hard to do. Once a car breaks away, breaks free, and those tires wear out, there is just no getting back up to that race leader. In this case, the race leader happened to be Challenger. I said at one point, the final move will be made, and you just want to be that car out ahead. You want to be that driver out ahead when it happens. And in this case, it happened to be Christian. He's able to power ahead of Logan Edwards and cross the finish line first. He'll come back around to the yard of bricks and park it there. Some congratulatory moves here from other drivers in the field, and they're going to park it on the front straightaway and have a 3-wide picture here. That is a sight to see.
Hey, it's been a long race. Give them all some credit. I think most of them are happy to see the checkered flag at this point. A lot of them did complete the full 500 miles. Some of them finished a few laps down, but a lot of them still finished on the racetrack.
And amazingly, in that Driver of the Day vote, Christian Challenger has no votes. It's Nathan Dowd, Eric Staropoli, Matt Wagner, and Christian Challenger up for that vote. Well, Dowd currently leads. He finished 3rd. Wagner is 2nd in the vote. He finished 10th over Kinchlow by 0.2 of a second. But Challenger has no vote yet as he parks it in victory lane here at Indianapolis. They sit 5 wide at the stripe. Will we see celebration here? Yes! He'll burn it down. Christian Challenger, your race winner at Indianapolis.
Gotta give him a smoke show for the fans. You'll love to see it.
What a shot that is. Triumph at the yard of bricks. A race win for car number 1. And this, of course, is first of 2025. It was Pataska at Charlotte, Challenger here at Indy. Next up for these drivers, back to the Le Mans classes, back to Le Mans itself. Those are some perfect donuts from driver number 1, and he parks it there ahead of his competitors. Christian Abate there, watching on, along with, I think that's Brenton Foster and Robert Nash was there, and one other. I can't quite tell who that was, but we'll take a look at your unofficial race results here in just one moment. Unbelievable race. And it all came down, as you said, to the final 2.5 miles. Could Logan Edwards get there? The answer, unfortunately for Logan, was no. Let's take a look at those unofficial race results this evening. From Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Christian Challenger up ahead by 1/2 second. And he will take 41 laps led when it's all said and done. A nice chunk of this race. Logan Edwards finishes second, Nathan Dowd third, Robert Nash fourth, and Eric Staropoli a solid, strong 5th place there for car 93. And Dowd, once again, I don't think he's finished outside of the podium all season long. He continues this streak of finishing up front. Nash there in 4th, a solid effort there as well. Lionel Callisto comes home 6th, Christian Debate 7th. Again, what a lucky catch for him to save that race car early in this race and continue on, finishing 7th place when it's all said and done, when it could have been over so early. Ryan Steele 8th. Brenton Foster comes back from crashing from the lead to finishing 9th. What a recovery drive there. And Matt Wagner drives back through the field. Couldn't quite get up front. Still finishes top 10.
Through the rest of the field, Lynn Kinchlow ends up 11th. Sebastian Jackson 12th. Brian Bennett ends up 13th. Damian Coltley, he ends up 14th as well. Ray Partridge, one of the drivers that was competing the triple Ironman, he ends up 15th on the day. Nick Kuhn, who was up inside the top 5 most of the day, he ends up 16th as well. And then 17th on the day, Wayne Hutchinson, he was one of the drivers that was also competing in that triple Ironman challenge. Austin Peterson, he's one of the drivers that brought out one of the final cautions of the day. He ends up 18th. You've got Daniel B. Johnson, who spent just about the entirety of the race 1 lap down, still ends up inside the top 20 in that 6:59 in the 19th position. And the number 14 on the 20th position, you'll find Bob Beltrami in that 20th spot. He also finishes 1 lap down.
The good news for Bob is his space program is going swimmingly. So
yes, it is.
Good news there for car number 14, but he does finish 20th spot here, just ahead of Ross Banfield and Lyndon Swaby. I'm not sure what happened to Lyndon there at the end, but he fell 1 lap down late. Richard McClure there in 23rd. Jimbo Pfeiffer never did recover from an early penalty. He will finish 24th. Bryce Roberts, 25th. Of course, Bryce was part of the second caution when he got into another car there on the restart. Jason McSparron comes home 26th. Andy Banfield in 27th after his spectacular flip and pirouette there through turns 3 and 4. Vincent LaHerbier there in 28th spot after a couple of mishaps late in the race. Greg McEnany 29th. Michael Chin, we feel the pain there. 2 identical mistakes. 30th spot there. Joseph Homan, William Fletcher, and Austin O'Neill never made the green flag. I believe Austin was set to start this race from 2nd place, maybe even 1st, and never made the green. So that is absolutely not what you wanted to see for driver number 5, but that it is what it is for the 5 car. Now, looking at the driver of the day vote, we're going to let it run for just a little bit longer. If you are watching and you don't know about it yet, the driver of the day vote is live. You have 4 options. Christian Challenger is one of them. Nathan Dowd is another there in the number 7. You can also vote for Eric Staropoli in the number 93. Let's bring him up. Give me 1 second. There's Staropoli. You can also vote for the 616 of Matt Wagner. We'll let that vote ride through these driver interviews while we talk to Christian Challenger, Nathan Dowd, and possibly Logan Edwards. Here, though, is Christian Challenger coming home first in the Speedway 500, the 13th running thereof, and number 13. I don't know if it means anything to you, Christian. Usually it's bad luck. For you, it's good luck here this evening. A race win, as I'm pretty sure it's likely the very next hour. It's probably Monday for you at this point, but a solid effort here. 500 miles with 41 laps, but how did you beat Logan Edwards to the line?
It was just that last run. I kind of knew it was going to come down to who made the last pass, basically. I mean, it kind of always is here. I was pretty certain there was no way the pass was going to be made into 3. And then kind of the last time I passed him, I felt like I wasn't going to be able to do that again. So that's why immediately on the backstretch I was like, I need to make it so he just can't get back to me. And that's where the whole snaking and everything started at that point. It's kind of weird to do that, but like it kind of is the the way to create some separation, right? And I knew if I caught him off guard, it would create just enough laps where he wasn't going to be able to get back to me. So it's kind of how Indy always is. It comes down to whoever makes that last pass. I've been on the wrong side of it enough times to kind of know that I'm always going to try. So yeah, as soon as I got past him, started with the whole snaking and everything. I think he might have been slightly short on fuel as well, because there was a couple of laps where it looked like it didn't look like he couldn't get to me. It looked like he didn't want to get to me. So I don't know whether he was short a bit, and that, you know, that hurts. That was kind of the hole I was trying to avoid being in with that last run. And you know, if it had stayed green, I still felt really good about it because I just passed Nathan. I felt like Robert was kind of my closest competitor at that point. I had 2-car buffer. I had enough fuel to run flat to the end. So it was from a position of confidence, which has been unusual this year, actually, because I feel like this year has been pretty terrible. I think when you pulled me into the broadcast here, you might have caught the end of the conversation I was having with Nathan, where I was just saying to him, like, I'm not really having good finishes to races, and then I see where he finishes, and it's like I think this race where he finished third is his worst result for the year. So yeah, it's been a really mixed season, but it's good to actually win. And I really like Indy. Indy is kind of just, I was saying to the guys I race with that it's a real strategy race, but in an interesting way. I'm not the kind of person who wants to do this all the time. Like I don't want to, you know, race the oval IndyCar every week, but to do it once a year and really, you know, plan it out and everything is really good fun.
And speaking of strategy, it was a strategy race for what felt like 170 laps or so from the start to that last stop that you made with Nash, where you went an extra lap. And how important was it at that time, at least before that last caution came out, to get that extra lap and go that extra 2.5 miles to that pit stop beyond what everybody else could do?
It's massive. It's huge. When I saw Nathan pull off two laps earlier than I knew I was going to, I felt really good about that, because I knew at that point that he wouldn't be able to run flat from the end to the end, and I was going to be able to. And I think it was going to be really close with Nash and I. We were on the same set. We're talking to each other on Discord and everything. We knew exactly the plan that was going on. So we were prepared to race each other, I think, to the end there. And I don't even think I did anything better than he did. I think I just got luckier. At one point in the race, he got caught up and he lost a couple of seconds, and that just meant that I had the ability to save a little bit more, and I had a little bit of a gap on him, and it was super hard to recover that. I mean, it's always it's a strategy race, but it's also track position, and I didn't know where we were going to come out with the guys who were offset to us, because they were always working out to a point where they were pulling these big gaps on us that I knew they had to give us back, but I didn't know when and how much they were going to give back, kind of. So I didn't really know until probably the second to last run that we were in a pretty good spot.
That final caution came out and you're able to cruise to victory here, but looking forward now, we go to Le Mans in the month of June for 2 separate races, one for points, one not. With that 2.4, that's for points. It's where you're going to make some money, maybe, figuratively, for this championship. Back to the roadside, back into some GT cars and prototypes. How do you focus that event? Which class do you opt for? What's your outlook going forward to the Le Mans 2.4?
It's tough because I've kind of been the class custodian for GT3s for a long while, and kind of the iRacing side now. But I've handed that over now to Christian Abade. And now I'm like, I need to let go of it, if you know what I mean. So that's always been my default class to go to, because I'm like, well, these are the things I know the most, so I'm going to race in these. But now I'm thinking I might hop around. I've got a lot of love for the P2, so I might go in that. And I think the P2 is wicked at Le Mans, so it's probably going to be the car I pick, if I'm completely honest.
Looking forward to that P2 category for Le Mans. Congratulations once again for winning the Speedway 500 this evening. Takes a lot of effort to get it done. Perfect setup, perfect runs, perfect strategy, and you got it done this evening. Congrats, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Christian Challoner winning the Speedway 500, the 5th round of 12 this season. And, you know, I learned something in that interview, Zach, and you want to know what I learned?
What's that?
I learned that we've been calling poor Christian a bait. Well, Abate. We've been calling him a bait all season long, and you don't know certain things until you learn. In this case, we've finally learned Abate. And Christian, we apologize, but thanks for not reaming us at any point in time. So Christian Abate, they're finishing 7th place. We'll move on down and get Nathan Dowd, who finishes 3rd. Zach, he's headed your way.
Yeah, Nathan Dowd gets another podium finish here in the Major Series in the top split for the Americans. And Nathan, you put in a solid race, man. I mean, we covered it a lot throughout the entirety of the race that you were one of the most consistent drivers out there. You didn't exactly lead a ton of laps, but you were there at the end when it counted, and you made your name heard. Do you think if things might have gone a little differently, you could have walked away with the win today?
I would have been surprised, honestly. I think this is a pretty weak combo for me generally, or usually, so I think this is probably about the best I could do realistically, but I mean, the way these go, if you end up in front in the right time and can aero block for the last 20 laps, then it's possible. Cars are so close here, and speed and whatnot, and I think the hot track was making it real hard for people to really close up easily. So if you find yourself out front, I mean, anything's possible. But I think once Christian got by me, and he was better than me on fuel there in that last cycle, I knew it was gonna be really hard to get back by him again, since it seemed like he was good to go to the end, full tilt. So realistically, this is a good result for me. I'm happy with it. Congrats to Christian, back in the P1 like usual. So we'll try to get him again later on in the year.
Well, you still did an absolutely solid job on the day. You started 2nd, and you ended up still finishing 3rd. So I would assume that's still a great day and a great result for you and your team. But Andrew touched on it as well with our race winner moving into the month of June. We've got the Le Mans classes coming up as well. Do you think moving into that you're going to have a lot better of a chance to put that car back on the podium, the top step that is, and maybe get yourself some more wins on the season?
I mean, it's possible. I've been running really good this year, so IMSA or the GTP, P2, P3 combo, I'm pretty comfortable with it. It's kind of what I run the most of, so we'll see. I'm not quite sure what class I'll go with quite yet, but not a huge fan of Le Mans itself, but we'll put a lot of prep in, and we'll see what we can do. I don't know. Most likely I'll probably run GTP. That's what I'm most familiar with, but I don't know. I mean, I just won a GT3 race at Road America, so maybe I'll go with that, actually. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Well, you did a solid job today, and with the races coming up, I assume we'll see you running up front a lot more. So congratulations again on your podium finish here in Indianapolis. We look forward to seeing you at Le Mans here next month. Congratulations again.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Absolutely, and that's Nathan Dowd, our 3rd place finisher, Andrew, and it looks like we are being joined by Logan Edwards, who was our 2nd place finisher on the day.
Yes, Logan Edwards does come home 2nd and joined the broadcast room just after Nathan Dowd and Christian Challenger, but 2nd place for you, Logan. And at one point, I said a couple of times that we would see the leapfrog over and over, and eventually there would be a final time that you guys passed one another, and it would come down to whoever was out front when the tires wore out to that point. And it ended up being Christian out front. Is there anything you could have done late in the race to make it you, or were you just hands tied at the end?
I think I shouldn't have burned fuel on the final caution, because I greatly underestimated the amount of fuel that I'd use in the last stint. I thought that I'd be right on the money, but I ended up having a save, and that put me out of the window to be close to Christian. And at that point, the tires wouldn't let me catch back up.
Christian theorized that it felt like you were saving some fuel. We couldn't tell up here if that says anything, but how close was it? How short were you at one point?
I was never in the danger zone, but I had maybe a corner margin the whole time. I actually died coming down pit road and had to coast into my box. which I could have pushed more if I knew the fine margins. And if I knew how much I'd use just pushing to the end, just desperately clawing catch Christian.
That's impressively close, and it seems like based on your triple number, you're not running for points this season, but do we see you in any more of these events this season? We have another IndyCar race coming up at Homestead, Miami in a couple of months. I mean, we have more opportunities, even if you're kind of a ringer that wants to run these IndyCars. Do we see you in some more majors events here in 2025?
Maybe. I'm very new to majors. You will see me in any other IndyCar race this month. Me and my team are making a run at Open and Fixed, and I'm gonna broadcast like 3 times a week at this point. And I just heard of the Homestead Miami race from you, so I might check it out. It's in a couple months.
Yeah, if we check out the schedule graphic here, put it on the screen for you. Grand Prix of Miami, the Dallara IR05. So not this car, the older car at Homestead there, July 20th. Hopefully we'll see you there. Regardless, Logan, you flew under the radar all day long, showed up at the end in a perfect position to go for the win, and it was a lot of fun watching you do so. Congratulations on P2. Wish it had been P1 for your sake, but a fun race nonetheless, and fun time watching you go out there. Congratulations. Hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
That's Logan Edwards finishing P2 this evening in a Honda. We don't see many drivers opt to put the Honda stickers on, but Edwards does so and finishes second place. And a solid effort there for sure for driver 613. And hopefully we see more of Logan over the course of 2025, certainly at least for the other IndyCar race later in July. But Zach, that'll do it, and that will also complete today's Driver of the Day vote. We'll finish that up over on YouTube. Astoundingly, the driver who finished 10th is voted today's Driver of the Day. He was always on a differing strategy from eventual race winner Christian Challenger, but Matt Wagner takes home today's Driver of the Day honors. A solid run there, and this is the run actually I think to the end for Wagner. We can watch this back here in real speed real quick. Wagner just beats Lynn Kinchlow back to the stripe, and I think this is how he got it done. There's Peterson there in front at the end. That's a lap car, and that gave all the dirty air to Kinchlow through 3. Wagner snakes on through. What a move there to get that spot right at the end. That's Driver of the Day material that was coming to the checkers.
That was one heck of a crossover move right there. You'll love to see it, especially in the high-speed, action-packed chaos that is Indianapolis. I gotta give him some credit there. That was a pretty solid move.
It was really impressive stuff there from the Sector 5 driver of Matt Wagner to take home Driver of the Day honors here, at least unofficially here on Pit Stop TV. And he does it just ahead of the Lucky Performance Lucky Break of the Day recipient, Lynn Kinchlow there in car 44. A solid day here at Virtual Indianapolis. It doesn't get much better than this, Zach. I mean, maybe if we had a late caution, throw some tires on these cars and go back after it, maybe it could have been a little more exciting at the end, but you have to appreciate Christian Challenger putting his car in the right position, right time, right place, and just being there at the end when he needed to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's all it is really most of the time when it comes to racing, is just being in the right spot at the right time. You have to put yourself in position that you can be in contention. And, you know, it takes a lot of effort at times, but some drivers rise to the task and they're able to get it done. Some can't, and sometimes it's not even any fault of their own. It tends to roll that way, whether it be the cautions or the track conditions or any other outside factors that really could pertain to how your race rolls. It's just a differing condition sometimes, but I mean, moving forward, there's so much open availability coming up too. The Le Mans 2.4 coming up, that's round number 6, and then oh boy, Andrew, I know you're probably going to be excited for the 24-hour race. That was fun to cover last year, but I don't know about pulling another all-nighter. That might be a tall order for me.
It's a logistical nightmare for us, but it's one that we appreciate for sure. The Majors 24 coming up on June 21st. If you're just hearing of this event, you can sign up. You can run it outside of just running the Majors series. You can run the Majors 24 and nothing else if you'd like. Make sure to, if you're interested in running a basically Le Mans 24, make sure you sign up for this event with the whole team. It's going to be a fun one. It was a lot of fun last year in 2024. We definitely appreciate the opportunity to broadcast Split 4. We're looking forward to the Majors 24 here in 2025. But first up, that Majors 2.4, Le Mans 2.4 rather, going to be exciting. That's the next points-paying round this season in 2025. And boy, it's going to shape this season, I think, a whole lot. We take a look, though, at what's upcoming for us here at Pit Stop TV. Next up, we head out to Daytona International Speedway. In fact, the next two broadcasts here on the channel, both at Daytona. First on the oval with the BRB Racing League Butt Kicker Cup Series. It's their first race of 2025 in season number 4. They finished the season number 3, in March, well, April 1st. But they are moving into season number 4 beginning May 6th. That's Tuesday, just a couple of days away. Make sure to tune in for that one. It's going to be a lot of fun. You'll hear myself on the call with Zach as well. That is going to be a thrilling season opener. We've got a full field of 43, I believe, 45 drivers technically signed up if you include the 2 part-timers of Mason Houseman and Gavin Rogers. But there will be a new champion. I believe it was Rogers in season 1, Houseman in seasons 2 and 3. There will be a new champion in season 4, and you got to tune in for the beginning of that run to the end on Tuesday, May the 6th. Then Thursday, May 8th, it's the North American Racing League from Daytona International Speedway as well, but on the road course in their GT3 machinery, brought to you by Moradness at 8:15 Eastern. Do not miss this season finale. We have got just one race left to go and single-digit point margins in a GT3 race, an hour-long race at Daytona. It's going to be epic. And then, Zach, we head out to Texas Motor Speedway on May 13th for round 2 on the Legacy Oval there. At Texas, round 2 of the BRB Butt Kicker Cup Series. You can find all of these broadcasts and so much more on all of our social media links down below.
You can, pitstoptv.com, facebook.com/pitstoptv, Instagram.com/pit_stop_TV, TikTok.com/pitstoptv1, Twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV, YouTube.com/pitstoptv1, and X.com/pitstoptv_. I can tell you for certain, Andrew, that I am absolutely looking forward to BRB Butt Kicker Cup Series this Tuesday evening, because I'm really excited to see the Whiplash Racing team go at it, and one of those drivers being under the Murtis Esports banner with a little alliance that we have together. So I'm really excited to see all the good stuff coming and going on in that BRB Butt Kicker Cup Series.
We had Richard Wolfer watching on this broadcast earlier today. He'll be in that race, and Zachary King was almost in the broadcast. Shout out to him. He does so much for that league. He'll be in that race. Mason Houseman, who joins us on Thursday evenings for the North American Racing League, he should be in that race. He's the reigning champion 2 times over. We'll just have to wait and see how things break down at Daytona on Tuesday. That'll do it for us, though, this evening from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Thanks so much to our partners here at Pit Stop TV, Whiplash SimCams, ATVO, CC's Business, Cody Williams Design, Lucky Performance, and the North American Racing League. Zach, thanks for joining me this evening. That's the wrong graphic. That's the right one. There we go. That's got your mug on it. Congratulations on making it through this one, because it was not an easy one to get through, but 3.5 hours later, this broadcast is coming to a close. Thank you for being here. It was appreciated for sure. That'll do it for us at Pit Stop TV for the Speedway 500. Once again, thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you all next time here on Pit Stop TV.